I can't believe you really have the courage or energy to divorce.
Catherine looked down from a place of superiority, smirking with sarcasm.
Really, we should think about this calmly and rationally right now.
As Michael's face turned passionately red, he spoke loudly with rising emotion.
From today, I will take care of my family, especially my parents and sister. If you can't accept that, then we can divorce. If you really can't accept it, then maybe we have no other choice but to part ways.
I've been waiting for those words all this time. Are you serious? Are you really considering a divorce? I endured so many harsh words and criticisms from him just for this moment. I have all the evidence I need. You, who spoke those words so lightly, will surely regret it. My name is Sierra. My parents loved the poet Sierra Hoover, and under her influence, they gave me that name. Currently at 29, I'm a dedicated housewife, cherishing my household every day. We don't have children yet. I used to work for a trendy clothing brand, but after marrying my beloved Michael, I quit 3 years ago. Now, I spend my time honing my sewing skills. Michael is 32 years old. He was passionate about rugby during his school days and now works for a well-known housing-related company. His commanding physique is admirable and attracts attention. When I express a slight opinion or talk about something in more detail than Michael, his mood changes instantly and he repeatedly interrupts me with harsh words. The biggest challenge in my daily life is finding ways to communicate with Michael without upsetting him. At the same time, the fact that we don't have children is a silent but constant pressure from both Michael and my in-laws. Last night, I received astonishing news. My sister-in-law has ended her marriage.
Actually, it seems my sister has ended her marriage.
That moment, her sharp, impactful face clearly came to my mind. Is that so? That's surprising. Personally, considering her strong personality, I had secretly anticipated that her marriage wouldn't last long.
It's strange, you don't seem too surprised.
His suspicious gaze caught and held on to me. It's not like that. I just got the news earlier than I thought, and for a moment I wasn't sure how to react. I pondered internally how best to respond to this surprising news, hoping he couldn't read my mind.
Honestly, when I heard the information, I nearly lost my grip and almost dropped the glass I was holding to the ground.
A deep sense of relief washed over me. It seemed I had cleared his suspicions. If I hadn't been able to clear his doubts, I would have had to endure his endless lectures. His usual lectures started popping up in my mind one after the other.
I wish you'd clean the bathroom more often. I'd like the rice a bit softer. Since you're at home, I wish you'd be more attentive to the household chores.
His usual complaints come out in these words.
Who do you think is working so hard to earn a living?
Michael has never been violent towards me. He's just not that kind of person. But sometimes his sharp words leave deep wounds in my heart. I hope that if we have a child, his behavior and attitude might change. However, as of now, there's no sign of us having a child.
I made a decision. The reason is,
I can see a hint of irritation and impatience in Michael's eyes looking at me. It seems I missed a vital part of what he was saying. I'm sorry. The story shocked me and I got lost in thought for a moment. I hope he doesn't start a long lecture now.
Really, as I was saying, Zach cheated, and he left the apartment where his parents used to live.
Michael took a deep breath and continued the story. Somehow, his mood seemed to be getting better. It's hard to believe that Zach, who always seemed so cheerful and friendly, would cheat. On the other hand, if it was his sister-in-law, I could somewhat understand.
Zach was forced to sign divorce papers. He's been a house husband ever since they got married and has no income. He's really struggling financially right now.
That's tough. But what about alimony and child support? If one divorces due to infidelity, they should legally be able to claim property division, alimony, and child support.
Do you really think it's that simple to get all that?
A sudden loud noise. The room shook when Michael forcefully slammed the table with his fist. Before I realized, my body had frozen in fear.
What are you misunderstanding? I can't imagine you having such a deep knowledge of complex law. Why do you think you know such things? There's no way you're that smart. Acting like you know everything.
My mouth was completely dry, unable to muster an appropriate response.
Your everyday life is just sewing, isn't it? Isn't that everything to you? To deny everything about me in just a few words.
I didn't have the courage to say it directly to him, but sewing for me is more than just a hobby. It's the center of my life and is precious to me. In fact, my handmade dresses have been recognized lately, and I've received many orders and compliments.
Poor little Emily, though. She's only 7, so she probably doesn't fully understand her father's actions. Our parents and family are likely confused about what to do next.
Michael's tone seemed to soften a bit. It doesn't seem like he's in the mood to lecture for now.
I wish I could help them somehow. But first, I need to take a shower and freshen up.
I need to prepare a change of clothes for Michael. He always notices the little things, and if he doesn't find clothes ready for him after his bath, he will surely be in a bad mood.
I'm thinking of visiting my sister's place tomorrow to check on them.
I thought of Zach. He was always cheerful and often relied upon by others. I felt he always accommodated his sister-in-law's wishes. Despite the impression that he was relied upon, I have seen his in-laws occasionally being strict with him. Perhaps the pressure became too much, and he ended up having an affair. However, he was always kind and loving to the kids, especially little Emily. I wonder how hard life will be for her from now on. When I think that custody will almost certainly be with her mother, I genuinely worry about her future school life and growth. If the affair is true, there should be rights to compensation and child support. Still, I wonder why the sister-in-law showed so much anger. Sometimes her emotional fluctuations and triggers are unpredictable. Trying to avoid stepping on landmines in every conversation with her is stressful. Early in the morning, Michael revisited yesterday's topic.
I really want to do something for them.
What does he mean by do something? What does he have in mind? I wondered to myself.
One suggestion. How about they live under the same roof with us?
I recall the days when I used to live with my father-in-law and mother-in-law. However, realistically thinking, it's tough for a family of 6 to live in a compact 2-bedroom apartment.
How about we offer our master bedroom to the sisters and let the parents use the sewing room? We can figure out where we rest in some way.
Michael suggested casually, but from my point of view, it might not be that simple to implement. I fully understand that Michael deeply loves his family. On certain days, like summer vacations and everyone's birthdays, we almost always went to his house. I felt a bit overwhelmed spending time with Michael's family, but if we run out of places to sleep, and my precious sewing time gets taken away, there was a loud thud as Michael slammed his fist on the table. In that instant, I was stunned.
Right now, it's not a situation where your free desires come first. Supporting the family is also one of our responsibilities as humans.
Does he really think that giving up my oasis, which is my sleeping place, and sewing, which has been my cherished hobby, is my selfishness? Just thinking about it made my head heavy and dizzy. I felt that he might not understand whatever I convey to him. The next day, to refresh my mood, I visited a trendy cafe for a meetup with my best friend from college, Michelle Williams. I hadn't seen her for a long time, but I ended up confiding in Michelle about my current home situation, especially about my relationship with Michael.
That's clearly emotional harassment.
I know, right? I felt the same. But I had no one to talk to and just followed Michael's words, convincing myself that it was the right thing. I struggled to find the words, and tears began to flow from my eyes.
Now's not the time to cry. I think you should take the best action.
Michelle handed me a business card. The card had the logo of a famous law firm and her name and contact details as a legal staff member.
After graduating from college, I took up law as a new challenge and have been gaining experience at that firm now.
In my college days, I never thought that Michelle, who was always cheerful and at the center of attention, would choose such a serious path and work hard in the world of law.
The law firm I belong to specializes in divorce issues, and we've achieved success in many difficult cases.
I wonder if I can step out of this difficult situation and open the door to a new life. Just thinking about it feels like the heavy stone in my heart has moved a bit, and I feel a glimmer of hope. Before leaving, Michelle looked at me with kind eyes and gently stroked my head.
You've been through a lot for a long time. From now on, you can live for yourself without that burden.
She gave me words of encouragement from the bottom of her heart. 1 week later, after finishing shopping and returning home, Catherine and Emily were sitting in the living room, both looking expectant, and to my surprise, Michael was at home in the middle of a weekday. I was curious about why he was here, but I also felt a bit tense. Maybe he sensed the turmoil in my heart because Michael spoke up first.
Today is an important day for the Jones family. I thought I shouldn't be working on such a day, so I left work early.
He explained. Catherine stared at me with a slightly arrogant attitude, and her gaze was pressing.
Andy, I'm thirsty. I want to drink a sweet tea that smells like peach.
She made a somewhat innocent request. She might be too young to understand what restraint means. Michael said with a smile.
We don't have any kids, so we don't have sweet drinks like Emily likes. I wish Sierra understood children's feelings a bit more.
Are you saying I lack consideration? I've been cooking and taking care of the house for my husband every day. Thinking back on our married life, I wonder what all my efforts were for. My heart aches. I try to control my emotions and look back at Michael.
Wait here, quickly get some barley tea.
I hurried to the kitchen at Michael's command-like words.
It might be a bit old and not spacious, but I guess you can live here.
Catherine's sarcastic words made my heart waver. This house might be old, but I've been living here every day with love.
Mom, which room will I be using?
Unable to hide my surprise at Emily's casual question. Room. Does this mean Emily is going to live here?
Considering the size of this house, there isn't much choice. So, you'll have to make do.
What on earth are they talking about? A feeling of unease grows. When I look at Michael's face, he doesn't explain anything and seems to be waiting for a response.
Sister has been going through a lot lately. Emily is still in elementary school and can't work.
I understand she's going through a lot, but given my sister-in-law's selfish nature, it complicates things. It's heartbreaking that she was cheated on and kicked out of her house. However, I don't see why we should take on all the responsibilities and burdens. The root of the problem clearly lies with her ex-husband. What I don't understand is why she doesn't demand alimony and child support from him. If Catherine and her child were receiving alimony and child support, they wouldn't have to live such a cramped life.
Isn't that what I've been saying? I'll take care of my sister and her family.
What do you mean by taking care specifically? What did Michael just say? What does he mean by supporting his sister and her family? Maybe he means they'll stay with us temporarily until they find a new place. That sounds like something Michael would say, always caring for his family.
Thank you. It means a lot.
In my surprise, I inadvertently bowed my head. Of course, please let us help in any way we can. My sister-in-law, with her confident demeanor, looks down at me. From this perspective, it seems like I'm the one asking them to stay at our house.
There are things to organize and prepare, so I'm thinking of moving in by the end of the month.
With that, it became certain that they would be staying at our house.
Sierra, I'd like you to have the room organized and prepared by then.
Sewing has been more than just a hobby for me. It's been my lifeline. Letting go of it, even temporarily, felt incredibly painful. I had planned to send my cherished belongings and materials back to my parents' house for safekeeping. But Michael's unexpected suggestion left me speechless with shock and sorrow.
I really think it's unnecessary, but how about getting rid of that sewing machine? Also, those stored clothes as well.
Yeah, this will help us start our new life smoothly here.
My heart was trembling with pain. I can't believe that my hobby, which I had been working on with passion, could be thought of so lightly. It felt as though my feelings and values weren't considered at all, and as if my very existence was being ignored. After a little time passed and I had calmed myself, I looked around the living room to find 4 glasses left half drunk on the table. It seems that my sister-in-law and her family left without even cleaning up. He was deeply seated on the sofa, engrossed in his smartphone.
I have a little errand to run. I'll be out.
Michael left the house with an expression that seemed to be looking forward to something. Was he truly looking forward to living with the entire family? My heart felt heavy in this situation, and I lost confidence to continue living like this any longer. I picked up my phone, deciding to contact someone. As the end of the month approached, as promised, my sister-in-law's family moved in for their new life.
Could you help a bit? There are more things than I expected, and I need an extra hand.
As I walked towards the entrance, I saw Michael sweating and holding several heavy boxes. Behind him, Emily with her new school backpack and my sister-in-law carrying her luggage followed. Thank you for coming. Or should I say, welcome back, Michael, implying a silent request of I need help quickly, offered a box to me.
This isn't all. There is still a lot left. Please help.
As I took the box, I saw my sister-in-law and Emily stepping into the house.
Sierra, is the room organized?
Yes, I've arranged to send my sewing machine and self-made clothes back to my parents' home. I deliberately responded in a slightly cold tone, but I wondered how they took it. The items I sent home were intended to be reused later, and I've told them to take great care of them.
Mom, where's my new room?
I witnessed Emily asking her mother the same question as before. With the limited space of this 2LDK, how would 6 people live, and how would they provide Emily with her own room? I had endless questions. I'm so sorry, but I'm planning to use my room for my father-in-law and mother-in-law to stay in, so I can't secure it just for Emily.
Huh? For Grandpa and Grandma? Why?
As Emily grumbled, I felt her parse right by me. Thinking about living with a child who reacts this insensitively every day, my heart felt heavy. Are all modern children like this? That's when my sister-in-law, relaxing on the living room sofa, called out to me.
I've been walking for so long, my legs are killing me. Sierra, can you get me a cold drink?
There was a hint of superiority in her voice.
I want something to drink too. I especially want a Calpis with a peach flavor.
I, who had been standing at the entrance, hurried my steps to the living room. I thought I needed to meet their drink requests or they might get even more upset.
What's wrong? You're so spaced out.
Actually, I ran out of peach kelpis and bought grape-flavored kelpis instead. Is that okay?
Really? That's unacceptable. I told you before, didn't I? Unbelievable.
Emily's sarcastic words were surprisingly mature for her age, and I was amazed, thinking to myself, how can such a young girl use such language? While desperately holding back any retort.
If there weren't any nearby stores, you could have ordered it online, right?
Instead of apologizing for Emily's slightly rude words, Catherine added more blame towards me. Seeing this, I thought to myself that the mother and daughter might have similar personalities. I'm truly sorry. I did my best with what I had prepared.
Even so, I want what I want.
Emily openly expressed her dissatisfaction, frowning.
Emily, this is a time for patience. It can't be helped.
Sierra, I've been waiting for minutes now. Hurry up and help.
As he said this, Michael's loud voice echoed from the entrance. I apologize. I'll be right there. Trying to avoid causing any issues in front of my sister-in-law, I quickly headed for the entrance. Finally, all the boxes were brought inside. Afterward, as I began to unpack and organize each piece of luggage my sister-in-law had brought, my father-in-law and mother-in-law arrived and opened the door.
I apologize for keeping you waiting for so long. We will be in your care from now on. Can you show us around the house?
He is generally a good person, but he seems to struggle with reading the room. I wondered if it was a trait specific to the Jones family.
Today is a special day. Let's all eat sushi. Sierra, can you call the sushi restaurant and place an order for all of us?
I sighed deeply inside. I'm sure the bill for this sushi will be covered with the money I saved before getting married. I was puzzled watching his behavior, wondering why he would say such things. In the middle of the living room, while the entire family was enjoying their sushi, Michael spoke with great seriousness.
With the family all here, I declare the start of the new Jones family.
While the rest of the family seemed to agree with his words, I felt a sense of discomfort.
Indeed, we must cooperate and live together in the days to come.
My father-in-law was gleaming with delight at the delicious sushi and was laughing joyfully. I understand, but have plans for our next home been made?
That question is unnecessary. For now, until Emily becomes an adult, we all intend to live in this house together.
Those words shattered my spirit.
That's right. Eventually, this house will be our home.
Catherine's words weighed heavily on me. Is it natural for them to live together in the house?
We are family. Overcoming difficulties together as a family is a given.
But why is it our responsibility to care for Emily until she becomes an adult? I can't understand.
I want you to understand. I am the head of this house. As family, it's my decision who we support and welcome.
Then what is my role and purpose here? Am I just positioned here to handle the household chores?
And if we were to have a child, your sister would provide solid support in raising it. This is for your sake.
For your sake. That phrase is exactly like the one Michelle mentioned recently. So it's used in such situations. I was waiting for the right moment to strike back, preparing my rebuttal to his words. But if we have a child, why do we need to get help from your sister to raise them? I want to raise my own child.
Sierra, you want to build a career outside, right? Then pursue it with peace of mind. I will support with child rearing.
I can also help like my sister. And if everyone is happy, that's good, right?
Hearing Emily's words, I had a feeling of rejection about entrusting future child rearing to a selfish, inconsiderate sister-in-law.
Sierra, think about it seriously. If you have a steady job outside, it will significantly contribute to our household. It's a win-win situation.
Michael seemed very confident in this suggestion, trying to persuade me with a proud look.
Exactly, and with the money you earn, I want you to make our lives more comfortable.
At that moment, Emily looked at me with a sly smile, and my heart suddenly felt cold.
My income is just my pension, so it's a bit uncertain. Any increase in income would really help.
Even my father-in-law was clearly delighted, looking at my earnings with shining eyes. I wondered if there was any other family that only thought about themselves like this.
Anyway, this matter is already settled. No objections are allowed.
I didn't have the energy to fight back anymore. I was just waiting for his next words. I've reached my limit. I can't take it anymore, I muttered. Suddenly, there was a loud sound of Michael slamming his fist on the table. The sound startled me, but I managed to control my urge to tremble.
Then the only option is divorce. If you dislike it, that's the only choice left.
Yes, I've been waiting for those words. I choose divorce. Are you satisfied with that? To my answer, Michael seemed unexpectedly surprised, searching for words.
What are you saying? I never thought you'd seriously consider divorce.
Beside me, my father-in-law and mother-in-law were also frozen in shock.
I can't believe you chose divorce.
Catherine said, looking down on me with a mocking smile.
Anyway, cool your head and reconsider.
The tension was so high that even Michael's voice was trembling.
From now on, support my family.
If you oppose this, there's only the choice of divorce. Surprisingly, we've already completed the divorce proceedings.
What's going on?
My unexpected comment left everyone in the room stunned, with expressions of shock. Yes, we've already finalized the divorce proceedings. As I finished speaking, I carefully pulled out a copy of the divorce papers from my bag.
But wait, I don't see Michael's signature on the document. Does this really finalize the divorce?
This is a divorce obtained through court proceedings. The necessary documents have already been formally submitted to the court.
I can't believe it. There's no way someone like you would know about such procedures. Did someone advise you?
Suddenly, Michael slammed his fist on the table with force. Amidst the loud noise that echoed throughout the room, my facial expression remained unchanged. I made the decision on my own. Of course, I got help from a lawyer for the legal proceedings.
I can't believe this. Why would you do such a thing?
As Michael's face twisted with anger and surprise, I relayed more information. Furthermore, Catherine, it wasn't you who was cheated on. It was you who cheated, wasn't it? I heard everything from Zach, with an expression of intense anger. Father-in-law stared at Catherine.
Catherine, what is the meaning of this?
The atmosphere in the room shifted, and all eyes were on Catherine.
Actually, I got information from Zach that Emily was a child born as a result of Catherine's affair. Knowing that, he completely abandoned the idea of reconciliation.
Wait, my sister wouldn't do something like that. She's completely innocent.
Michael was desperately trying to clear his sister's name. But Michael, why are you so desperately defending your sister? Perhaps you're hiding a secret yourself. Taken aback by the accusation, he immediately shook his head. I did check your credit card and toll card transaction history a little. Sure, you might be hiding the bank book and ATM cards from me and managing them yourself, but the credit and toll cards being used are under my name from before we got married.
So what? We're married, those assets should be shared. How I use them is none of your business.
Then, how would you explain this toll transaction history, especially the frequent use in an area known for motels? I spread out the toll transaction details on the central table in the room.
That's because of work-related meetings and conferences.
So, what about these purchase records of luxury brand bags and wallets? Were they used as gifts for girls' bar employees? And are you being played by them afterwards?
What nonsense are you talking about? Do you really think I'm so easily used by others? I'm deeply involved in this.
I couldn't help but laugh at Michael's innocent reaction. It showed how naive he was, but also conveyed his strong pride. Noticing the tension, Catherine looked surprised and glanced at Michael.
Wait, are you confessing to cheating right now?
My parents were also shocked by Michael's remarks and were disappointed. Furthermore, I've checked your call history with her, and she clearly admits to the affair.
That explains why I haven't been able to contact Megan lately.
Reacting unexpectedly, Michael stood up and grabbed my collar forcefully. It's not good to threaten me. Everything has been recorded and even captured on video. Hearing my calm response, Michael looked around frantically, his gaze settling on a smartphone in the corner. Seeing the phone, he lost all his strength and slumped into a chair. The other day, right after your sisters-in-law visited our home, did you go to that woman's house? Michael, overwhelmed by my question, seemed too exhausted to reply. The story continues to 2 days before, on a sunny day, I visited the home of my old friend, Michelle. Through her, I was able to connect with a reliable attorney. My goal was to make the lawyer understand the complicated relationship with Michael and think about the next steps. According to the lawyer, Michael's behavior was clearly moral harassment, and there was an unhealthy codependent relationship between us. I was advised to distance myself from Michael as soon as possible. I showed him my credit card and etc. card statements and call details, as gathering evidence was a priority. The lawyer chuckled at Michael's carelessness and said, "He's quite a careless type, isn't he?" Laughing in surprise. Following Michelle's advice, I also had the lawyer listen to a conversation I had recorded earlier.
With this much evidence, you have plenty of reasons to divorce. Furthermore, it's clear how Michael is wasting your money.
The lawyer pointed out that there's a possibility of claiming a significant amount as compensation from Michael.
You can also evict him and reclaim the apartment you're currently residing in.
Michelle joined the conversation.
Given his emotional abuse, dependency,
and leech-like behavior, we should pursue him legally to the fullest extent. She encouraged me with words that were calm but revealed a strong determination. I felt empowered by the words of the two people present and nodded in gratitude. That day, I confronted Michael and his associates with the help of my lawyer and friends. Please don't assume this is over yet. Michael hung his head, seeming unable to speak. Despair and astonishment mixed in his eyes. Continuing to live in this apartment will likely become very challenging. Upon hearing my words, Catherine reacted sharply.
What are you talking about? Michael worked hard to buy this apartment, didn't he?
In that moment, I gestured to the living room door, giving the floor to the waiting lawyer. Sir, could you please explain the specifics? Walking in calmly from near the entrance, the lawyer began.
To clarify, this apartment was purchased under the joint names of Michael and Sierra.
So, Sierra has a right to half of the ownership. She has decided not to pay her share of the mortgage going forward.
So, if Michael pays it all, there's no problem, right? Michael, you can handle it, can't you?
Catherine seemed unwilling to accept the reality that she might lose the house.
It's going to be extremely tough, but I'll try my best.
It would undoubtedly be a significant burden for Michael to take on the mortgage payments alone.
And how do you plan to repay Sierra's half of the assets? You will need to return her share in cash.
I don't have that kind of money.
At his words, Catherine, in a mix of confusion and shock, began to sob, shaking Michael by the shoulders.
Why is this happening? You were so confident everything would be fine. You believed that you could easily persuade her and control the situation. But now, how did it come to this?
Cutting off Catherine's words, I calmly presented her with an official document. Catherine, you are also subject to pay compensation. The details are clearly stated in this document, so please check. The moment Catherine saw the document, she seemed to feel its weight, her legs trembling as if she couldn't stand. I had anticipated this situation and had previously asked the lawyer to proceed with a claim for compensation against Zach as well.
Catherine, I will explain the details about the payment method and schedule for the alimony later.
Meanwhile, if Michael doesn't pay the full amount by the deadline, we're considering deducting it from his monthly salary.
Why is this happening?
Michael seemed unable to escape the reality before him, rendered speechless.
And Michael, we also plan to take legal action against the woman you had an affair with. Please understand this as well.
Michael looked shocked and suddenly gazed at us with intense eyes.
Please, at least consider that part. I truly beg you.
Michael looked extremely cornered, sincerely conveying his feelings of apology and request to us. Despair was evident in his eyes.
Please, I don't want anyone else to know about this fact. If it becomes widespread knowledge, I can't even imagine what will happen to my future.
Seeing Michael pleading so pathetically and shedding tears was a first for us since we met him. More than any other time, he looked vulnerable now, but the feeling that bubbled up inside wasn't one of sympathy or sadness, but a certain sense of accomplishment. Lawyer, we'll take our leave now. We recommend you all start preparing for a new residence. Finding a new place to live can take longer than expected. Next to the crouched Michael, I left the apartment lobby with a confident attitude. As a result, the divorce proceedings with Michael were settled amicably without a court confrontation. I heard that Michael's parents and Catherine started a new daily life in a small, old apartment. Michael's father-in-law took up some jobs on the streets, and his mother-in-law and Catherine were working in a local factory, managing somehow. Fortunately, the alimony to be paid to good man is being transferred smoothly as planned. By the way, the man who had a relationship with Catherine was named Haruki. He has a little child named Haruka, and she might also be significantly affected by this incident. The woman Michael was involved with was the wife of his boss at work. In that company where the relationship between superiors and subordinates is very important, if such an immoral relationship is revealed, his position would become very difficult. I heard that the boss of the company has no intention of letting Michael go and is sternly refusing his resignation. Considering the assertiveness of that boss, it's understandable why Michael would bow his head. It seems that Michael will likely continue to work under the direction of his senior in the future. On the other hand, I've started a comfortable life in a beautiful new apartment and am enjoying my longtime hobby of dressmaking more than ever. Ever since I started selling handmade dresses online, I've received praise from many people, and my business opportunities have expanded, such as receiving transaction proposals from renowned boutiques. A young buyer, particularly enchanted by my designs, has made a dreamy proposal to start a new fashion brand together. I'm touched by his passionate offer and am seriously considering a business partnership with him. I feel a personal warmth towards him, and he's been inviting me for meals lately. His gentle gaze and stability make him seem trustworthy. If I had been told a few months ago that I would be living like this, I wouldn't have believed it. Now, I can feel the vibration of my smartphone. It seems to be a call from him. It looks like it's time to think about my answer to his dinner invitation.
A place like this is not where anyone would ever dwell. If somebody did, they would have to be an adrenaline addict or someone as depressed as this area. Henry, don't say things like that in front of the guests. I was staying at the Irving Inn when a derisive chuckle reverberated across the hallway. The man named Henry gave Rebecca, the innkeeper, a scornful glance and a sneer. Visitors? Ha, Rebecca, no one is here. This is the best you can do with your alleged abilities. This is your reality, so face it. Henry exited after hurling his comments, laughing loudly and contentedly, obviously enjoying Rebecca's expression of annoyance. As Rebecca stood there, her beloved inn being cruelly attacked, her hands trembled a little. It's all over. I had only been here a few days, yet I could already feel their suffering. No, it's not finished yet. Trust me, I'll take care of it. A few months later, my life and the lives of everyone else connected to Irving Inn were going to undergo a significant transformation. Because in actuality, my true identity is Samuel is my name. I am employed at a renowned hotel in the city as a concierge. Providing service with genuine warmth is my driving principle. I was continuously instructed to provide hospitality from the viewpoint of the guest by the senior employee who was in charge of my training at the hotel. I now mentor my juniors in the same manner as before that training. But ever since Mr. Keller became the new manager a few years ago, efficiency and profit have been more important. His methods cause a lot of people to depart. The majority of those who are left now support Mr. Keller's initiatives. I was a total oddity in that setting because I opposed Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller's push for irrational actions in the name of business caused me to argue with him today once more. It was obvious that he had had enough of my persistent difficulties over the years. If you can't follow my way, you're welcome to leave any time, he said. The management strategy would remain the same regardless of what I stated. There was not a single ally at work. Above all, I found Mr. Keller's disrespect for both staff and visitors intolerable. So I walked out of the motel. Remaining there would simply distance me from my principles and enthusiasm. I had no regrets regarding my departure. Still, it evoked some melancholy to leave a location full of memories after all these years. I made the decision to travel in order to decompress. When I had free time, I would travel to different places, both domestic and foreign, to study and unwind. I chose traditional Japanese inns more frequently than not because they provided a welcome alternative to the typical hotel setting. I visited the website of an inn I had been eyeing for a while. Surrounded by nature, enjoy a moment of tranquility at Irving Inn. The webpage showcased tranquil photos of the inn, well-known hot springs, regional cuisine, and the stunning natural beauty of the area. I felt better just by glancing at the pictures. The pictures showed friendly, welcome grins on the faces of the innkeeper and staff. I had been watching Irving Inn since last year in the hopes of visiting and learning from them someday because of their stellar reputation for hospitality. I happily went through the booking process, anticipating my stay even though I was no longer employed. I reached the town where the Irving Inn was a few days later. The town has recently been growing as a tourist destination, drawing large crowds of visitors, particularly on weekends, which infuses the area with a vibrant spirit. Because the inn was tucked away in the highlands, the bustle eventually subsided as I got closer, giving way to the verdant trees and the sounds of rustling leaves and chirping. This brief trip was sufficient to give me a sensation of escape, and I found myself totally unwinding. When I arrived, I noticed a solid, well-constructed inn. Despite its rather dilapidated appearance, the architecture was rich in history and blended in perfectly with the natural surroundings. I was excited and grinning at the prospect of staying here for a few days. I moved slowly through the doorway and made my way to the front desk. But the employee who was standing there was so focused on the documents she was reading with great interest that she failed to notice my presence. I tried to grab her attention, a little bewildered. Oh, yes, a guest. I'm so sorry. Welcome to Irving Inn. The young woman at the desk bowed hurriedly, clearly flustered. She seemed new, as her speech and movements were a bit unsteady. While she sorted out my check-in, handling paperwork, and checking the computer, I looked around. The other staff members rushing past the entrance appeared equally busy. Their movements were a bit awkward, and a few looked like they might trip at any moment. A senior staff member was offering guidance, helping them with their tasks, yet no one seemed to notice me at the front desk. I thought this place was known for its hospitality, but this is a bit. I could feel their earnestness, which was endearing, but I wondered if I could truly relax in such a hectic atmosphere. As I was pondering this, a problem arose. What? The room I reserved is already occupied. I am terribly sorry. The young woman at the desk looked on the verge of tears, bowing repeatedly. It was a classic case of double booking. This is unexpected. I sincerely apologize. More than anger, I felt disappointment. I had been so looking forward to my stay. As the staff member kept apologizing, someone hurried toward us. I apologize sincerely for the inconvenience our oversight has caused. Recognizing her face from the website, I realized this was Rebecca, the innkeeper. The front desk staff must have alerted her as soon as the double booking was discovered. Despite hurrying over, Rebecca didn't appear the least bit flustered. Her neatly styled black hair had a beautiful luster, and she wore a refined lavender kimono that suited her perfectly. Her manner was gentle, with graceful gestures and refined language that made a strong impression. Is there any other room available? I was really looking forward to staying here, so I'd love to, if possible, I asked. At my request, she quickly moved to the front desk, checking the reservation status. I'm terribly sorry. All our rooms are booked for today, so we're unable to offer another room at this time, she replied. With that, Rebecca once again bowed deeply. The female employee standing next to her also followed Rebecca's lead, bowing along with her. Ah, I see. That's disappointing, I said. Rebecca's response deepened my disappointment, and I couldn't help but let my true feelings slip out. Seeing the obvious dejection on my face, Rebecca hesitantly spoke up to me. Considering it's a holiday, I expect nearby accommodations are likely fully booked as well. So, if you be willing, my home is just next to the inn. As an apology, we'd like to offer our unused guest house to you at no charge, along with full meals and service. I was taken aback by the unexpected offer. I hesitated about staying in a private residence, even if it was a guest house, and tried to refuse. But Rebecca insisted, saying, I can't bear to let a guest who was looking forward to staying here leave disappointed. The young woman at the desk also bowed multiple times, and I couldn't refuse. Wow, this room is amazing, I exclaimed. I'm glad you like it, Heather said. Since Rebecca had other guests to attend to, her daughter, Heather, showed me to the room. It was beautifully maintained, with a classic interior as lovely as the inn's rooms. Since it was right next to the inn, the view from the window was likely just as stunning as it would have been from an actual guest room. Since the guest house was a bit removed from both the main house and the inn, I didn't have to worry about noise or overhearing conversations. Heather, who had shown me to my room, explained the meal schedule, the hot springs hours, and other details. In her service, I could see traces of her mother, Rebecca. She answered my questions smoothly, with a warm smile and thoughtful gestures that put me at ease. Even as a fellow hospitality professional, I found Heather's service remarkable, with many things worth emulating. This made me wonder. Both Rebecca and her daughter Heather possessed such high-level service skills. So why did the other staff, especially the woman at the front desk, seem so inexperienced? Was it simply a lack of training, or were they all new hires? Either way, The disparity in staff skill levels was so wide that it risked leading to disappointing reviews for the inn. Lost in thought, I realized Heather had finished her explanation. Once again, I apologize for today's inconvenience. I hope you'll enjoy your stay here, and please let us know if there's anything we can do to make it even better, she said. Her radiant smile, full of warmth, left me momentarily speechless. Are you all right? Heather looked up at me with a concerned expression. She seemed about my age, with a youthful face and large, sparkling eyes that shone in the sunlight. Her gaze made my face grow warm. Oh no, I'm fine. Actually, I'm really looking forward to both the hot springs and the food, I said. Thank you. As you can see, our inn is surrounded by mountains, so our menu is mainly focused on local delicacies like wild vegetables, mushrooms, and river fish caught nearby. Our chef's dishes are all delicious, so please enjoy as much as you can. Oh, and of course, our hot springs are one of our prides too. The salt in the water is great for your skin and helps relieve fatigue, so please take your time relaxing in it. Perhaps due to her enthusiasm, her words lost some of their earlier formality and became a bit more casual. Normally, using such language with a customer would be a no-go, but from Heather's attitude, I could sense her dedication to learning about the inn, and above all, her genuine affection for it. Not only was Heather unstoppable in her talking, but I also found myself smiling naturally as I listened. Oh, I'm so sorry. I got so caught up in talking that I completely left you behind. Once I start talking about the inn, I just can't stop, even though my mom scolds me about it all the time, Heather said, looking down with her face turning red with embarrassment. No, not at all. Hearing all that has made me even more excited about my stay. And I can tell how much you love this inn, so it really warms my heart. Do you plan to take over the inn in the future? I asked. She relaxed, her face softening at my words. Yes, I love this inn. It's a place very close to my heart. Right now, it's just my mom and me, but my grandparents and father used to work here too. I grew up watching my family and the staff work so hard. It's tough, of course, and as a kid, I sometimes felt lonely. But I'll never forget the look of happiness on their faces when they saw a guest smile. So I want to follow in my mom's footsteps and become a proper innkeeper who works with our staff to create a place where guests leave with genuine gratitude. That said, I still make lots of mistakes and get scolded by my mom and the senior staff all the time, she added with a bright expression, revealing her strong determination to inherit the inn. Watching her, I found myself speaking without thinking. You'll make a great innkeeper, Heather. Huh. Oh, I was just as surprised, I said, startled by my own words. Heather's astonished expression mirrored my own surprise. After exchanging glances, we both burst into laughter. Thank you. I'll do my best to make sure you're satisfied with your stay, she said with a final smile and a slight bow. Heather left the room, adding, Please don't hesitate to call if you need anything. Heather was in charge of most of my needs during my stay at the guest house. Each time she stopped by, she'd check if I needed anything, and casual conversations would often lead to laughter. Afterward, she'd hurry back to her duties. Just as Heather had promised, I thoroughly enjoyed the excellent food and relaxing hot springs. Now, stretched out on the prepared bed with my arms and legs spread wide, I sighed. Ah, this is perfect. I'm full. The hot springs were great. Enveloped in the warmth of the sun-scented duvet, I closed my eyes. Heather's smile came to mind. There was a warmth in her smile, as if she genuinely wanted to make guests feel welcome. Her presence was like spring sunshine, warming the heart. But thinking of that warmth made my heart race, and I felt a blush creeping up my cheeks. Heather, she is really something special, I muttered, relieved to be alone. Her smile flashed through my mind again and again. I wondered if I'd dream of her tonight. Feeling a bit embarrassed by my own thoughts, I pulled the duvet over my head, trying to hide from them. Before I knew it, I drifted off to sleep, still wrapped in thoughts of her. The next morning, I got dressed and enjoyed the breakfast delivered to my room. I planned to go sightseeing, so I headed to the inn staff for recommendations on nearby attractions and must-visit spots. As I arrived at the front desk, loud voices echoed through the quiet morning. "What's going on here?" I wondered aloud. "My sincerest apologies," Rebecca said. The raised voices didn't fit the usual calm of the inn. It sounded like a complaint. Several staff members, including Rebecca and Heather, were bowing deeply before a guest angrily shouting his grievances. "I've never stayed somewhere so unpleasant. I'm leaving now." The irate guest stormed past me, each step heavy with frustration. I considered saying something, but before I could decide, Rebecca noticed me watching and came over. "I'm so sorry for the disturbance. Is there anything you need?" she asked, her tone polite and gentle as always. But I could see traces of fatigue on her face. I know it's not my place as a guest, but what happened?" I hesitantly asked. Rebecca hesitated for a moment before offering a troubled smile. "We received a complaint from that guest just now. Apparently, he claimed he was placed in a subpar room, different from the one he reserved, and that the staff had been unhelpful and rude. However, after double-checking, we found no mistake with the reservation, and none of the staff members who attended to him behaved improperly. Strange incidents like this had been increasing over the past 6 months. Complaints about things like expired snacks in the room or the private bath being too cold. Some guests even claimed they got sick because of it, even though none of it was true. Guests had even walked out or canceled reservations at the last minute," Rebecca continued. "Just recently, someone left a complaint on a booking site about food we don't even serve. Since then, our reservations have dropped significantly." Heather spoke up, and several other employees chimed in with their own accounts of suspicious occurrences. While such incidents occasionally happen in this business, the frequency over the past half-year was unusual. "Could it be someone's harassing the inn?" one of the staff whispered. Everyone fell silent. Glancing at Rebecca, I saw a shadowed expression on her face. I was about to say something when the door swung open with a bang. Everyone turned in unison. "Oh my, what a gloomy atmosphere. It's like a funeral in here," a blatantly rude voice said. The tone made me bristle, but Rebecca immediately stepped forward to face the newcomer. "Henry, what brings you here?" she asked, her tone noticeably stiff. Another guest left again. "How many times does that make it now? I've told you time and time again. You're not up to the task. I've heard all about it. The staff here are incompetent, and the service is abysmal. You're the one who's dragged this inn's once-praised reputation for excellent service through the mud," Henry said smugly. Rebecca listened quietly at first, but quickly countered with a firm tone. "Henry, I won't tolerate insults toward our dedicated staff. They work hard for this inn and our guests. You, as an outsider, have no place to speak on this matter." Henry sneered and continued. "Working hard isn't enough. Most of your staff are amateurs. You're understaffed and lack proper training. Who'd want to stay in a place like this?" "Training shortcomings are my responsibility," Rebecca replied. "But even with a staffing agency, we can't seem to get new hires, which I suspect is because of the strings you've been pulling." "Oh, Rebecca, don't make accusations without proof. It's because of this low standard and your inability to manage proper training that no one wants to work or stay here. You'd be better off shutting it down now and selling the land while it's worth something." Henry sneered again. "Look around. Everyone else has sided with me. Only a few places remain in this area, yours included. Wouldn't want you and your daughter left out on the street now, would we? Ha ha." Hearing Henry's words, Heather let out a faint sound, her face pale. She must have only just realized the extent of the threat. Rebecca, standing face to face with Henry, maintained her resolute stance. But I could see her, clenched fists trembling slightly. Oh, the young lady wasn't aware. Rebecca's stubbornness is quite the bother. If she doesn't hand over this place soon, it'll delay my plans. But if you continue to be difficult, I might just resort to harsher methods. I have plenty of connections, you know. Watching him leer at Rebecca, I felt something snap inside me. His arrogant attitude, pushing his own agenda without any regard for others, reminded me of my former manager, Mr. Keller. Even though it had only been a day for me, I couldn't stand that Henry was trying to ruin Irving Inn and cause pain to Rebecca and Heather. Is that a threat? Should I go ahead and report your words to the police? Ha, and just who do you think you are? I jumped in suddenly, and it startled Henry. Samuel. Both Rebecca and Heather said my name in unison. I'm a guest staying here. I just happened to be around, but as I said, I could call the police right now and report your threats if that's what you prefer. I held my phone in my right hand and stepped toward Henry. You? Another guest still here. All right, fine, but make sure to have all the documents ready next time. Throwing out his parting words, Henry wiped sweat from his brow and hurriedly left with heavy, frantic steps. Once the door shut, the now silent entryway was filled with Heather's voice. Samuel, thank you so much. She took my hand as she spoke. Heather, really, I didn't do much. My words stumbled out, a mix of modesty and fluster at her holding my hand at that moment. Rebecca approached us. Samuel, thank you. You really helped us. Rebecca lifted her face and began to tell us the story. According to her, Henry had been pressuring her to give up this land for about a year. It seemed that as various business proposals aimed to boost tourism around the area, Henry's company joined in pushing for a large-scale plan to turn this whole area into a resort. With support from some influential backers, Henry grew bolder, targeting nearby inns and shops, including the Irving Inn, with relentless buyouts, using strong-armed tactics whenever necessary to acquire land. Unable to resist Henry's power, most nearby businesses had either closed or relocated, leaving only a handful, including the Irving Inn, still standing. Over the past 6 months, Henry's threats had become more intense. He seemed to have hired people to file fake complaints and orchestrate cancellations, shaking the inn's reputation in an attempt to force them out. Mom, why didn't you tell us about this? Did you think we weren't dependable enough? Hearing the truth from Rebecca, Heather's eyes welled up with tears. Rebecca, too, looked pained as she held Heather's hand tightly. Everyone, I'm so sorry. I just didn't want you to worry. I thought if I handled Henry myself, you could focus on taking care of our guests. But in the end, I only made you worry more. I'm sorry. I'm such an unworthy innkeeper. I'm so sorry. Her face was lowered, but the last words were spoken in a trembling voice. Heather and the other employees in the room were all disheartened, some softly crying. Maybe it's time to let go. At this rate, I'm just going to keep dragging everyone down. Rebecca whispered these words quietly. If this goes on, the Irving Inn will disappear. The inn Heather had hoped to carry on her dream would be lost. Hold on, please. Before I knew it, I had raised my voice. Everyone turned to look at me. It's a situation where the place they work might disappear in the near future. Everyone wore an expression of overwhelming anxiety. As I glanced at them, my gaze met Heather's, her cheeks wet with tears. Samuel. I nodded reassuringly toward her as tears gathered in her large eyes. Then I turned back to face Rebecca. Rebecca, I'm currently unemployed, but I used to work in a hotel. While my skills might be a bit different, I have experience and knowledge in hospitality. If you'd allow it, I'd like to help with staff training. Rebecca and Heather exchanged glances. You know, I was really looking forward to staying here, right? That's true, but there was another reason. I'd heard great things about the service here, and I really wanted to learn from it myself. I was thrilled to arrive, though I was surprised by the double booking and all. But I was genuinely impressed by your hospitality, yours and Heather's, and the dedication of all the staff. Despite fewer guests, you all still prioritize warmth and care. I knew this was a place I wanted to enjoy during my stay, and now I really don't want to see this inn disappear. I kept my true reason, not wanting Heather's dream to be crushed, to myself, but my desire to save the inn was genuine. Hoping my feelings would reach her, I looked directly at Rebecca. Then other staff members began to speak up. I don't want this place to close either. I'll keep working hard, so please, Rebecca, don't give up. Hearing these voices, Heather took Rebecca's hand. Mom, let's protect our home, okay? I'll work harder than ever. Let's all work together. We can't let someone like him win. The other employees joined in with words of encouragement, saying, "We'll do our best." Moved by their words, tears fell from Rebecca's eyes. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, everyone. Rebecca closed her eyes for a moment, then looked straight at me. Her eyes were no longer filled with tears, but rather a determined, resolute strength. Samuel, I apologize for burdening you as our guest, but for the sake of everyone here fighting to save the Irving Inn, could we ask for your help? Samuel, please. Rebecca and Heather both bowed simultaneously. The other staff members followed suit, bowing as well. I may not be able to do much, but I'm one of those who want to protect the Irving Inn too. Please, let's work together. I bowed deeply as well, grateful to be part of this. From that moment, I became one of the allies supporting Irving Inn. With Henry's tactics likely to escalate at any time, we had to raise the inn's revenue to last year's level as quickly as possible. I signed a short-term contract to oversee employee training at the inn. Though hotels and inns have their differences, at the core, the spirit of hospitality and the question of what can we do for our guests remains the same. I focused on these principles during training, helped cover tasks where they were short-staffed, and gathered guest feedback to pass on to Rebecca. Of course, with a new level of expectations, some found it too challenging and left. Among those who left, some engaged in suspicious behavior, like deliberately being rude to customers or attempting to enter restricted areas. It makes me wonder if Henry had somehow been involved. This also suggests that the false complaints, reputation-damaging reviews, and sudden cancellations we've experienced might be part of Henry's influence as well. When I mentioned this to Rebecca, she replied, "It wouldn't surprise me. The dirty tactics he'd been using. There's no way we could lose to someone like him." For Rebecca, Heather, the staff, and everyone who loved this inn as much as I did, we had to reclaim its true reputation. We worked tirelessly together. Aside from training, I reached out to contacts from my previous job, gathering support and promoting the inn through travel bloggers and magazine writers. I knew the dedication to genuine, heartfelt service that I'd once been discouraged from practicing was now finally allowed to shine at Irving Inn. Seeing the guest smiles and the joyful faces of the trained staff filled my heart like nothing else had before. It was no exaggeration to say that these days were some of the most fulfilling I'd ever experienced. As 1 month, then 2 months passed, and as the tourist season approached, the reputation of Irving Inn not only returned but soared even higher. Guest feedback poured in saying, "We were so comforted by your hospitality, and it was the best experience. We'll be back." The stellar reputation from before was quick to rebound, faster than anticipated. Once we improved staff training and filled our ranks, sales also steadily recovered. Within just a few months, we achieved the same revenue as last year. On that landmark day, even the usually composed Rebecca was celebrating, embracing Heather and the team in joy. "It's all thanks to you, Samuel. You gave us the strength to keep going. Thank you so much." Heather's tearful gratitude warmed my heart. I was truly glad to have been able to help her. Being able to work here with all of you has made me so happy. "Thank you," she said, struggling to hold back tears. I expressed my gratitude as well. Being able to pursue my ideal of heartfelt service here had truly become an irreplaceable experience in my life. I was endlessly grateful to everyone at Irving Inn for giving me this opportunity. But this wasn't the end. The harassment hadn't stopped entirely yet. Henry was likely still plotting to take over Irving Inn. We couldn't let our guard down. With guests pouring back in, the inn was lively and bustling once again. That afternoon, the gathering that had reserved the banquet hall came to an end. I needed to confirm something with Rebecca, so I headed over to the banquet hall where she was attending to guests. Then it happened. "Hey, where's Rebecca?" A man, accompanied by a group of large men in black suits, shouted loudly at the front desk staff. Thinking it might be trouble, I quickly rushed to the front desk. "Oh, Samuel." The staff at the front desk noticed me approaching and gave me a troubled look, silently pleading for my help. "Is there something I can help you with, sir?" I spoke up, but the man turned to face me. I recognized that face. Henry. "Pa, who the hell are you?" It seemed he didn't recognize me. There he stood, Henry, with his greasy, smug face. "Well, never mind. Hey, you, go fetch Rebecca. If you tell her I'm here, she'll come running," he said, giving orders with a condescendingly polite attitude. That demeanor remained as thoroughly unpleasant as ever. "Rebecca is currently attending to guests and cannot step away. If you have any business, I'd be happy to hear it instead," I replied. There were other guests present in the lobby. No matter how unpleasant this got, I maintained a polite demeanor. "What did you say?" Henry sneered. "There's no guest here more important than me. Get her here right now." Henry, clearly displeased with my response, began shouting angrily. Other guests nearby started to stir, wondering what was going on. "Sir, please keep your voice down. It's disturbing the other guests." "Shut up. Are you trying to give me orders? Just because a few more customers came back, you think you're something special. If I really wanted to, I could crush this inn in no time." Henry laughed as he said this, and the men behind him stepped forward toward me. Like Henry, they wore smirks on their faces, cracking their knuckles as they approached. Were they really planning on causing a scene here in public? This seemed foolish beyond belief. I couldn't help but sigh. Just as Henry's anger peaked, a firm voice called out, "What's going on here?" Rebecca approached us. Seeing her, Henry's face twisted into a sly grin as he turned to confront her. "So, you finally showed up. Ignoring all my calls lately, huh? I had to come down here myself now. Hand over those property deeds," he demanded. Since his last visit, Rebecca had ignored Henry's calls and managed to thwart his harassment attempts. It seemed his patience had finally run out. To show up on this day of all days, perhaps Henry's luck had run out. Rebecca responded unfazed with a resolute tone. "Henry, as I've told you many times before, we have no intention of giving this land, which our family has protected for generations, to someone like you. And as my employee already mentioned, creating a scene here disturbs our guests. Kindly leave and do not come back." "You acting all high and mighty just because I've been playing nice," Rebecca continued. "Consider yourself warned. I'll use force if I have to." With that, Henry's men stepped forward. Despite being faced with men far larger than herself, Rebecca held her ground, her gaze steady and unflinching. In that tense atmosphere, a calm, almost gentle voice suddenly broke through. "Well, well, what a ruckus this is." All eyes turned toward the voice. Henry was the first to react. Mr. Sanders, an elderly man with a distinguished face and a well-kept beard, stood beside Rebecca. Though his tone was mild, his presence was commanding. Mr. Sanders was a powerful figure in the community, the chairman of a major construction firm responsible for most of the area's infrastructure projects. Even Henry, with his position in resort development, clearly knew who he was. "Ah, Henry, was it? I hear you're looking to enter the local tourism business. My associates have mentioned as much. Taking this as encouragement, Henry launched into a lengthy self-praising explanation of his development plans. Once he finished, Mr. Sanders stroked his beard thoughtfully before responding. But you see, I've been a fan of the Irving Inn for many years, since the days of Rebecca's grandfather. I can't support a plan that would destroy such a fine establishment. Isn't that right, gentlemen? At his words, several others stepped forward. Seeing them, Henry's face turned pale. These were prominent figures from the local community. Today, coincidentally, the banquet hall was hosting a gathering of many influential people from the town. With Irving Inn's improved reputation, they had requested to rent out the banquet hall for their event. Henry, we heard every word you shouted earlier. Rumors have reached us, but it's something else to witness such underhanded tactics firsthand, don't you think? Though Mr. Sanders had retired from active work over a decade ago, his former strength as a leader who commanded a group of resilient men could still be felt in his every word and presence. Caught by Mr. Sanders' piercing gaze, Henry began to tremble uncontrollably. Seeing this, Mr. Sanders chuckled softly, then turned his gaze toward Rebecca. Rebecca met his gaze, nodded, and stepped forward to confront Henry. Henry, I've already discussed everything you've done here with these gentlemen. And not just on our behalf. Others in the area have also suffered your company's harassment. Even knowing this, do you still insist on taking our land? In response to Rebecca's words, the assembled local leaders nodded, each staring at Henry with unyielding eyes. Unable to withstand the pressure, Henry let out a pathetic squeal and fled outside. A few days later, with help from Mr. Sanders and other allies, Henry's various misdeeds came to light, just as we had suspected. All the harassment complaints and sudden cancellations that targeted Irving Inn and nearby businesses had been orchestrated by people hired by Henry. What's more, he had collaborated with certain members of the local tourism association and staffing agencies, using dirty tactics to apply pressure on anyone who didn't support his plan. Several former employees who had acted suspiciously at the inn were also planted by Henry, deliberately causing issues to damage our reputation. All of them ended up dealing with the police, and Henry's grand tourism plan was officially terminated. Some of the businesses that had been forced to close or relocate because of Henry were able to return. Though the scandal attracted media attention and stirred up the town, things eventually settled down, and a new, thoughtfully revised tourism development plan began to take shape. Fortunately, with Irving Inn having regained its former popularity, we were chosen to lead this new initiative, and the team's morale soared. As for me, Samuel, the guests in the Sakura room are asking for you. Understood. I'll be there right away. I had initially planned to leave after Henry's issue was resolved, but everyone at the inn had convinced me to stay. So I continued working here at Irving Inn. Heather, too, had begun her full training as a future innkeeper, now standing proudly alongside Rebecca as the face of the inn. And as for us, with Rebecca's blessing, Heather and I began a relationship with marriage in mind. Now, I often find myself being teased as the young master, but getting to see the smile that first captivated me up close fills me with happiness. Samuel, keep up the great work. Heather, or rather, the young innkeeper. The day I left my former job thinking of Irving Inn was purely by chance. Thanks to that, I found not only the perfect place to work, but also a beloved fiancé. Living true to one's principles is never easy, but knowing that I was able to help someone made all those challenging days worth it. From now on, I'll continue to uphold my belief in heartfelt service and support her by her side. I'm a 28-year-old man named Tom. I don't get paid much because I work in a tiny factory. My monthly income is only around $1,500, which makes life difficult. I always felt sorry for my wife, Sarah, because of this. I got to know Sarah through a friend, and we began dating. Sarah and I were both 26 years old at the time, but she didn't appear to care about name-brand products, Every woman I know had an obsession with branded items. Although it may sound odd, I was quite well liked by the women. In the end, I had casual relationships with women who were clean to me, but they always begged for branded products. They would start requesting items like Louboutin shoes or a Gucci purse on the second date. These things, which cost tens of thousands of dollars, were much out of my price range given my pay. Therefore, these women promptly left when I refused. Ultimately, I came to the realization that I was just an ATM to all of these ladies. Sarah, however, was unique. I felt Sarah had excellent taste, and she always wore simple but elegant clothing. I've come to love her more and more since we were married. She has been such a comfort to me because of her modest demeanor and never-ending grin. My wife never complains, even though my meager income causes some inconvenience. She works as a temporary employee and saves nearly all of her earnings. Why don't you purchase some makeup that you like, Sarah? There is nearly no more toner left on the bathroom counter. Well, but I was considering holding off till there was a sale. Next week marks the start of the Easy Peasy Super Sale. I believe it will continue until then. Really? I doubt that it will. Almost none remained. It's okay. I'll buy it for you. You constantly put off purchasing what you desire too much, Sarah. However, I don't actually dress up all that much. You know, buying things for myself feels wrong. Additionally, you haven't been purchasing much for yourself. To be honest, I'm okay. Are you certain? I constantly feel like I'm bothering you, therefore I don't want you to hold back. That isn't true at all. I'm not reserving anything. All right, Sarah, if that's what you say, so long as you're content. Despite what she stated, I couldn't help but believe that Sarah was simply being thoughtful and wasn't purchasing anything because of me. I felt bad for bothering her because I didn't make much money. She may want to purchase as much of her favorite clothing and makeup as she desires. I am aware that all of her buddies are stylish. Although Sarah never expresses it, I can't help but wonder if she truly feels jealous. I made reservations at a posh steakhouse, thinking of it as an anniversary present since we had been married for a year. I'd assumed Sarah would be pleased because of the restaurant's stellar reputation. I was nervous about not following the proper etiquette because I had never eaten at such a fancy restaurant. Well, what counts is that we enjoy the food. I just want to enjoy the meal, so long as we don't dress badly or eat messy and bother other people. After that, Sarah and I visited the upscale steakhouse. The chef gave us a warm welcome when he spotted us. The restaurant's gorgeous decor made me quite anxious. I questioned whether it was truly okay for us to dine at such a lovely establishment. Sarah also appeared quite tense. She carried a gray handbag and wore a stylish black dress, although neither item was a luxury brand. They were purchased from a typical, reasonably priced clothes retailer. The dress and purse were still in excellent shape because Sarah took wonderful care of them and seemed to truly adore them. Unless you examined closely, no one would realize they were cheap. Sarah appeared relatively sophisticated due to her excellent sense of style. We placed an appetizer and steak order. We got soup and salad because I had read it's a good idea to start with something light. The salad was wonderful and fresh. This salad tastes great. It's the most delicious dressing I've ever experienced. Yes, I do agree. It has beets. Very tasty. This soup is also good. Yes, very tasty. Sarah's soup was corn pottage and mine was potato pottage. Normally, canned chicken soup suffices for me, but this upscale soup was incredibly excellent. The soup was delicious and sweet without being overbearing, which is a characteristic of an excellent restaurant, I've heard. Afterward, we had the main meal, steak. It was really tender and juicy. The sauce was just right. It was my first time having steak so tender and rich in flavor. This steak is really delicious. It's so tender, it feels like it's melting in my mouth. Yes, it is. I really like it. It's the best steak I've ever had in my life. Jess, thank you for today. It was really delicious. While we were eating the steak, David, a manager from one of our client companies, showed up. I thought the last person I wanted to see and momentarily stopped using my fork. That's because David always looks down on me, and I don't like him either. David works for Company A large corporation that frequently advertises. He seems to earn a good salary working there. Moreover, David apparently graduated from a very prestigious national university and looked down on me for only graduating high school. I attended a technical high school because I wanted to acquire a trade skill and got many qualifications while I was there. But according to David, being a graduate of a technical high school is seen as being at the bottom of the hierarchy. I worked hard in my own way and had my reasons for choosing that high school, so I really can't like people like David who boast about their education and background and look down on others. No, I guess it's more accurate to say I quite dislike him. We had this conversation before today. Hey, I came to observe B Company. Really? It's a tiny business, isn't it? It's nothing like our company. What's with this shabby equipment? You guys must be short on money. Huh. Yeah, well, that's true. We are a small company, and replacing equipment isn't really feasible right now. You're Tom, right? Why are you working in a place like this? Couldn't get into a better company. I was recommended this company by my high school teacher. Even though it's small, our products have one of the highest market shares in the country, so I felt it was a good choice. So, you joined this company right after high school? No way, wait a minute. High school graduate and already working. That's like being a loser in life. Oh, why do you think that? I don't believe that's true, because you didn't study hard enough to get into university. You're stuck as a high school graduate. So which high school did you go to? It must be a bottom-tier one. Well, I went to C Technical High School. Huh, that's C Technical High School, the one where you get in just by writing your name. You really went to such a low-tier high school and not going to university. Your life is basically over. A high school that even a kindergartner could get into. It's embarrassing to even be alive. There's no need to say that. I worked hard too. Worked hard? That's something a college graduate can say, not you, a high school graduate from a technical school. You didn't work hard. That's why you're just a high school graduate. You don't get it. David said this and walked away. It felt like he just came to be a nuisance. He was really annoying. After such an incident, I really hated David. I mean, who could possibly like such a person? While we were eating steak, David was smirking. Then he sat next to us and suddenly started saying mean things. Tom, you frequent places like this as well. I thought you wouldn't have the chance. How many months of your salary did you spend here? Maybe 2 or 3 months worth. No. I just came here for our wedding anniversary. I haven't spent that many months worth of salary. I'd be surprised to see someone spend 2 or 3 months' salary at a steak restaurant. No matter how expensive, I doubt it would cost that much. Since he dislikes me, he can say such mean things and laugh about it. I look down on him for being so rotten to the core. Yeah, well, it seems a bit out of your league, doesn't it? Also, your wife looks pretty poor. What's with that cheap outfit? Suddenly, he started belittling Sarah's clothes, and I got really angry. It's one thing to be sarcastic to me, but it's unforgivable to talk about her, who has nothing to do with this. Sarah looked sad and then looked down. I caught a glimpse of her face turning red as if she was embarrassed. That flimsy dress and obviously fake leather bag, so poverty-stricken. You can afford to buy anything better than that. Tom, you really are a loser. Hey, why would you say that? Don't talk about my wife. Even if you're a client's manager, I won't tolerate that. It's okay. Let it be. Stop, please. Sarah, I don't like you being insulted. Let's just go home. We've had enough delicious food. I'm fine with this. Che, poor people should go home. After all, your wife has been eating only bread, which comes with steak. Seems she liked it more than the steak. Poor people just eat bread at home. We were stunned. Sarah started to cry, saddened by the whole situation. I thought about dragging David outside and yelling at him. But then a lady at a distant table said something. Well, you wouldn't understand the good thing about bread. What's that? Sir, you don't seem to understand the quality of this bread. Hemph. I don't see anything good about this plain bread. It's just bread. Sir, you might want to stop there. Saying such things is not very appropriate. What are you talking about, chef? This is just regular bread, nothing special. Only poor people would appreciate this cheap stuff. I can't eat something so lowly. My taste is too refined. Well, you think that way. Fine. This bread is actually a super high-end product, you know. Really. The wheat we grow on our farm. Have you heard of Westfield Farm? Westfield Farm. The famous one that produces high-end vegetables and fruits. Yes, I'm the owner. My husband and I run it. We grow a variety of vegetables and rice, and the wheat for this bread is also from our farm. It's top-grade bread from the Westfield brand. I see. You said your taste is refined, but you didn't recognize the quality of this bread. We aimed for a sophisticated taste. Yes, this is exclusive high-end bread, only supplied to top restaurants. David had been belittling the bread, but it turns out the lady there was the one who produced it. Her name is Jennifer. Jennifer, along with her husband, manages Westfield Farm, a well-known establishment renowned for its vastness and its homemade condiments. Their condiments are quite pricey and popular among a certain circle of elite ladies. For someone like me, the prices were far beyond reach, and this bread was also a luxury item. Jennifer's bread, made with an original recipe, was unique and not available from other producers. It had a refined sweetness without being too sour, making it delicious. No wonder Sarah liked it so much. Although Sarah wasn't greedily eating only the bread, David, who may have never tasted this bread, was quick to assert that only poor people would be grateful for such a thing. But he must have been startled to find Jennifer, the creator, right there. David was sweating and seemed at a loss for words. Clearly, he fled. From my perspective, he looked quite embarrassed. I couldn't help but view him disdainfully as he awkwardly tried to find an excuse. Ha ha, is that so? My apologies. Well, I haven't eaten much bread before. Sorry about that. You don't tell me an apology. Perhaps you should apologize to these two. Me apologize to him. Yes, you have been saying some terrible things. It was quite unbearable to listen to. You should properly apologize. But I'm a manager at his client's company, and he's just a low-level employee. I don't want to apologize to someone who's just a high school graduate. I hate the bottom-tier people. Oh, you hate the bottom tier. So you hate someone like me, who started from high school too? You look down on me. Oh, well, that's not what I mean, no, it's different. I was just saying that about Tom. It didn't sound like that, did it, Jennifer? No, it didn't. You appear to be looking down on all high school graduates. Just to let you know, my husband and I, who run Westfield Farm, are also high school graduates. No, that's not what Enough with the excuses. Can you please leave? You're ruining the enjoyment of our delicious foods. Right, chef? Yes, that's right. We put our hearts into making food for our customers to enjoy, but with someone like you here, it ruins the atmosphere. Please leave. Your presence is no longer welcome here. All right, I understand. I'm sorry. David apologized to the chef, Jennifer, and us before leaving. Although it was an unpleasant encounter with a mean person, having support like theirs made me feel relieved. People like David, behaving arrogantly, would surely be unwelcome in high-class establishments. I figure he must have been condescending to the staff as well. Sarah was very grateful to the chef and Jennifer. Thank you so much for defending us. I was nervous coming to such a nice place for the first time, and these clothes and bags are just affordable items I bought with the money I earned from my part-time job. I was worried they might be inappropriate. Don't worry about that. You're well presented, and you haven't done anything wrong. Just be confident and proud of who you are. Exactly. What does it matter if something is inexpensive? It suits you well and looks clean. People aren't better just because they own expensive things. My husband and I earn decently as a couple, but I've never desired expensive brand items. It's enough that something fits well and looks good. I guess feeling ashamed or sorry for myself is the real embarrassment. I'll try to be more confident. That's right. Confidence is important. You did nothing wrong, so be proud and come visit us again. We were happy to see you enjoying our bread. Thank you. It seemed that my wife was self-conscious about her attire looking inexpensive. The clothes and bags she wore were bought with her own earnings. But as a temp worker, her salary is modest. Seeing her friends, who are quite well off and own branded bags and shoes, she must have felt a bit envious. On the contrary, I felt even more guilty. If only my earnings were better, she could have had the option to be a stay-at-home wife and bought herself plenty of beautiful clothes and bags. Due to our financial struggles and my lack of income, she has to work. But Sarah never complained about working. She's kind, considerate, and truly more than I deserve. We then paid our bill and left the restaurant, grateful for the unexpected support and feeling a bit better about ourselves. When that man was being mean, I wasn't sure how to react, but it's reassuring to know we have allies. I felt very reassured. David always acts like that when he comes to our place, but I didn't want to see him either. Well, he got told off by the chef and Jennifer and screeched away. I'm really glad we could enjoy such delicious steak today. Thank you. It must have been expensive, right? Don't worry about it. I wanted to take you there. If it was delicious, then that's all that matters. Let's go again sometime. Let's do that. After that, I worked tirelessly at my job and gradually began to be recognized by my peers. I had always been at the bottom, but my boss finally acknowledged my hard work. I was thrilled that my efforts were being fairly evaluated. Sarah was overjoyed when she heard about my promotion. Congratulations on your promotion. I'm so glad your hard work paid off. Yeah, I'm glad there are people who recognize my efforts. If you work sincerely, it eventually pays off. That's true. I want to learn from you. I want to be your support. Sarah, you already are a great support to me. Thanks for everything. My pleasure. Oh, by the way, I've made a reservation for this Saturday. I wanted to celebrate your promotion. For my promotion. Where? At that steak restaurant. I wanted to go there again with you. Really? That's great. Then let's go this Saturday. Thank you so much. Sarah had reserved the same high-end steak restaurant for my promotion celebration. I was so moved, I almost cried. How lucky I was to have such a thoughtful wife. Then came Saturday, and we decided to dress up a bit and go to the restaurant. Although we're not rich, we chose affordable clothes that still looked nice. When we entered, the chef and Jennifer were there. I thought Jennifer was there to dine again today. I heard it's a celebration, so please accept this as a gift from us. This is wine. Yes, we got high-quality wine. It's exquisite, so please try it. This is too generous. Such an expensive item as a service. We couldn't possibly accept. It's our pleasure. Consider it a small token of our appreciation. Lucky us. Let's gratefully accept his kind offer. All right, let's enjoy it. Delicious, it tastes sweet. I wanted you to try this exceptional quality. Enjoy it. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have such delicious wine. Tom, make sure you thank your wife. She's the one you should be grateful to. Sarah, thank you so much. Today, we're celebrating thanks to you. Let's enjoy our meal. Such a lovely couple. To support each other like this is wonderful. Here, take this from us as well. Jennifer handed us a set of high-end condiments. The dressings alone were worth around $15 each. I usually opt for dressings that cost about $1.80, so I wondered what these high-end dressings would taste like. There was also a large package of premium fruits, Westfield Farm strawberries, packaged in wooden boxes, sold for about $200. These were high-end fruits that someone like me would never normally afford. These are the legendary Westfield strawberries. Can we really accept such wonderful gifts? Yes, please do. Think of it as a thank you for appreciating our bread. The strawberries look so beautiful and big. I've never seen anything like it. Westfield Farm is truly remarkable with its extensive lands. I faced many challenges when I first got married. My husband and I worked tirelessly in the fields every day, but we supported each other and eventually built a large farm. So you too should continue to support each other as well. No matter what, stand by each other and move forward together. Yes, we will. Thank you so much. Jennifer seemed like a refined and graceful lady now, but she must have gone through a lot of struggles. She wasn't flaunting luxury brands, but was well made up, and her clothes were well cared for. Her shoes were polished too, showing she had a comfortable lifestyle. I aspired to be like her. No matter how tough things get, I want to be someone who supports my spouse and works hard for our dreams. With that in mind, I thought of collaborating with Sarah, enjoying our endeavors together. The steak that day was incredibly delicious. It was delicious the last time too, but maybe it tasted even better, wrapped in the happy atmosphere. Watching Sarah happily eating steak also warmed my heart. A year passed, and as a section chief, I was working hard and came home with a bouquet of flowers for our wedding anniversary. It was Sarah's favorite pink bouquet. I suggested going to the steak restaurant again, but Sarah seemed hesitant. I wondered if she didn't want to go there anymore. What's wrong? Didn't you like that place? We don't have to go if you don't want to. Well, I do want to go, but we can't. I went to the doctor today and found out I'm pregnant. You know, pregnant women shouldn't have wine. What? You're pregnant? That's incredible. Well, Sarah, it's our baby. Yes, our long-awaited baby. I'm so happy. I'll be a good mother. I'll do my utmost to be a great father. Let's keep working hard together. Yes, we'll help each other out no matter what. Then, Sarah decided to quit her job, and she gave birth to a boy. He was adorable, with big eyes like Sarah. Holding him, I felt like crying, overwhelmed by his preciousness. I was grateful every day for Sarah, who took care of our son. I did what I could, but as a stay-at-home mom, she did so much for us. As our son grew, Sarah began studying again. Sarah obtained her pharmacy technician certification and began working at a pharmacy. The nearby pharmacy offers flexible shifts, allowing her to finish work in time to pick up our son from his extracurricular activities. By that time, my earnings had increased significantly, and it would have been fine for Sarah to remain a full-time homemaker. But she had always been interested in pharmacy work and planned to study after childbirth. I was proud of my hard-working and ambitious wife. More than 20 years have passed since our son was born. I'm an old man now. Our son, Jason, graduated from university this spring and got a job. He's working for a major bank far from home and coming back for a holiday break. I believe our son Jason is very talented, as he secured a position at a major mega bank. I'm proud of him. Today, Sarah and I are being treated to steak by our son with his first salary. It's at that high-end steak restaurant. The chef, now in his mid-70s, was in his mid-50s when I first spoke to him. Hey there, is this your son? Yes, this is my son, Jason. Nice to meet you. I heard from my dad and mom that they really love this steak place. I thought I'd treat them. What a great son you have. You must be proud of him. Haha, he's excellent, unlike me. Oh, come on, Tom. You're great too. Aren't you a big shot now? Well, I'm just the vice president of a small company. That's still impressive. Now, please enjoy your meal. We started with the appetizing salad and ordered soup too. Every single piece was so delicious it felt like our cheeks might fall off. Jason, who was eating steak from this place for the first time, was also moved. Dad, this steak is really amazing. Well, I've never had steak this tender before. I could eat loads of it. It's so good. It makes me glad to be alive. Yeah, I love the steak too. I could eat it endlessly. Thanks for making the reservation today. Being treated by you is like a dream come true. You've really grown up well. I'm old enough, right? I've finally become a working adult, so I need to thank Mom and Dad. It wouldn't feel right otherwise. Ah, you've become so dependable. And this bread is absolutely delicious too. Where did they make it? Oh, that's from Westfield Farm Bread. You know, from that large farm. Oh, the large farm along the highway. I didn't know they grew wheat there. That's new to me. By the way, is Jennifer doing well? What is she up to these days? Actually, she passed away recently from cancer. I was quite shocked when I found out. What? She passed away. That's so sad. Jennifer was battling cancer. I had no idea. Well, Dad and Mom, you guys knew her. Well, sort of. She was a lady who was very kind to us. We didn't even get to say goodbye. It was a private funeral, and I only went to her grave. Jennifer was working hard at the farm till the end. Thinking about it every day, she really loved the farm. We'll never forget the vegetables and fruits filled with Jennifer's love. She was truly dedicated to running the farm. Now her son has taken over and is running the farm with his father. This bread is made using a secret recipe passed down, so it's exactly like Jennifer's taste. Ah, Jennifer's bread. Don't cry too much. Let's eat with a smile to help Jennifer's spirit rest in peace. Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Jennifer, for everything. Our son has grown up well, and we can eat steak together as a family. We hadn't known of Jennifer's passing. We had been so busy, hardly visiting the steak restaurant, so we never bumped into her. Jennifer had been battling terminal breast cancer, but even after hospitalization and discharge, she kept working hard at the farm. It made me realize how deeply she cherished the crops she grew. I deeply respected her dedication and love for the crops she grew, putting her life into her work. After praying for Jennifer's soul, we enjoyed the steak. My son paid the bill smoothly when it was time, and seeing him grown up like this reassured me. It's impressive to see him handling such a large amount so effortlessly. When I was a new graduate starting in a company, I was so poor, I hesitated to buy meals at convenience stores, a stark contrast. Since then, we've been going to the steak restaurant for every special occasion. The chef has grown old, so his son took over. Originally, his son was a company employee, but he trained to become a steak chef. I want to keep working hard so I can continue to enjoy delicious steak and show appreciation for all the hard times my wife has been through. I plan to take her there again for her next birthday. Oh no, the president's script is missing. The conference was about to start, and Sophia, an executive assistant, was in a frenzy. The president's script for the meeting with Mary's, the foreign department store, had apparently vanished. An additional executive assistant, Kyle, was grinning at Sophia. There was a chance that Kyle had set Sophia up. Him had publicly expressed his displeasure that Sophia and him shared the executive assistant position. Ultimately, I was selected to go with Executive Kevin and Kyle rather than Sophia. I think Kyle was hoping I would look foolish. Kyle would benefit greatly if I, who had frequently consoled and supported Sophia, made a mistake serious enough to result in my termination. It's been a while, said Jason, Mary's president, with a smile when he saw me. I'm happy to hear that you're doing well. The fact that Jason recognized me stunned Kyle, but he was going to be even more shocked. I'm 33 years old and go by Henry. I work as a dedicated driver for Kevin, one of the executives at Thornton's right now. The department store company Thornton has stores all throughout Japan and has also grown into big cities like New York and Los Angeles. It's likely that most people believe my life is trouble-free because I work for a steady corporation. But I didn't have an easy time getting to where I am now. I get dressed nicely every morning, wax a fancy automobile, and go over to Kevin's place. I straighten my tie, stand in front of the intercom, and push the button. Kevin's wife soon shows up and gives me a kind greeting, saying, "Thank you, always, for your hard work." After a while, a distinguished man with neatly combed hair that is beginning to gray shows up at the door. I give Kevin a deep bow, open the back door, and let him get inside the car. I quickly go back in the driver's seat, start our daily morning routine, and lightly touch the gas pedal. Of course, being an executive driver was not my ideal. As a matter of fact, my academic background is really excellent. Although I was born in Japan, my family relocated to the US when I was 2 years old because of my parents' jobs. I felt more at ease speaking English than Japanese because we moved from state to state. Even though I grew up in a free-spirited atmosphere, my parents sent me to a Japanese school because they believed I could visit Japan in the future and needed to experience its rigorous academic system. Studying has never been a chore for me because I've always been the type to look things up if I didn't understand them. Ultimately, my father was never sent back to Japan, and I grew up in the US with aspirations of becoming a businessman. I attended Harvard University to get a degree in economics. The relaxed atmosphere in a Japanese university is very different from student life at an American university. Without diligent study, grades rapidly decline and failure is a likely outcome. I therefore focused entirely on my academics throughout those 4 years, not even taking on a part-time job, and I eventually graduated from Harvard with high honors. I think everyone around me had high hopes for the future, but life has a habit of taking unforeseen turns. After a number of ups and downs, I ended up back in Japan at the age of 33, working for Thornton and driving for Kevin. At Thornton's headquarters, Kevin's automobile glided effortlessly into the subterranean parking lot. Kyle and Sophia are the 2 individuals who wait for him there at attention each morning. It seems that Kevin appreciates both a male and female viewpoint to properly support his job. When Kevin exits the vehicle, they give him a deep bow and say, "Good morning." After that, the 3 of them enter the elevator and ascend to the 8th floor executive suite. I need to catch my breath now. I take a deep breath and stretch as I get out of the car, preparing for the day. Despite the fact that I only drive these 3, it can be amusing to watch them. Kyle graduated from a well-known national university with a degree in English and is particularly useful when Kevin meets with foreign clients. Meanwhile, Sophia majored in social anthropology at a private women's college and struggles a bit with English. Although there is no official hierarchy between the 2, Kyle's overbearing personality makes him act as if he were Sophia's superior. He often sneers at Sophia, who graduated from a well-known women's college, saying things like, "This is why those privileged girls are hopeless." Having been trained intensively in English from a young age, Kyle has a strong admiration for people who grew up overseas. He holds a grudge against his circumstances, feeling that if his parents had had more money, he could have attended a university abroad. On the other hand, observing Sophia, it's clear she had few financial struggles, yet still faced her own issues. Since elementary school, she attended elite all-girls schools, but often felt out of place around her classmates. She strongly resisted the idea that women should support men and be taken care of, feeling like a bird in a cage. Sophia joined Thornton with a strong desire to escape her strict parents. They held the outdated belief that marriage and homemaking were the best path for a woman, an idea Sophia fiercely resisted. One time, While it was just the two of us left in the car, Sophia shared her thoughts with me. My parents have such outdated beliefs. They think a woman's place is to get married and stay at home. I said, well, I think it's just a mindset. The reason so many couples work these days is that it's hard to live on just one salary. She replied, oh, you're right. Thanks, I really need to stop letting it get to me or Kyle will just mock me again. The two assistants don't get along in the slightest. Kevin and Sophia always sit together in the back seat with Kyle riding in the passenger seat. Even this arrangement bothers Kyle as he watches Kevin turn to Sophia for help with barely concealed bitterness. Kyle seems to see Sophia as an adversary, and he's constantly playing petty tricks on her. It's a regular occurrence for Kyle to shut the door just as Sophia is about to get in right after Kevin. He'll even hand her a pen for taking notes, but deliberately give her one that's out of ink. Honestly, his antics are so childish that, as a fellow man, I feel embarrassed. Having spent so many years in the United States, I naturally developed a habit of acting with courtesy toward women, and I sympathize with Sophia's genuine outlook. So I've tried to support her whenever I can. Kyle clearly doesn't appreciate my efforts. His harassment of Sophia has only intensified, and I've grown increasingly concerned. Around this time, news surfaced of a potential partnership between Thornton and the global department store chain, Mary's. It was a major event in Thornton's history, generating enough buzz to make it onto TV news. Jason, the president of Mary's, was coming to Japan, and Kyle and Sophia were busy preparing for the meeting. I kept a close eye on Kyle to see if he would pull one of his usual tricks on Sophia, but surprisingly, they were working more smoothly than ever. To be honest, since hearing the name Mary's, I'd barely had the capacity to keep an eye on Sophia. I have no idea how to express this feeling. People often say they have mixed feelings, and that sums it up perfectly. After all, I used to be an employee at Mary's, this American department store, which I thought I'd left behind, but it was suddenly right within reach. I also knew Jason, the president, quite well. I wasn't sure if he'd remember me. As long as I remained Kevin's driver, I wouldn't need to come face to face with the American president. It's not that I didn't want to see him. There are countless things I'd like to say, but part of me wanted things to stay peaceful without stirring up the past. Finally, the day of the meeting arrived. Kevin and President Thornton were scheduled to visit the hotel room where Jason was staying. As usual, I waited for Kevin in the underground parking lot. Sophia and Kyle arrived ahead of him. The president would be heading directly to the hotel in a separate car. As the three of us waited by the car for Kevin, Kyle suddenly turned to Sophia and asked, "Sophia, you were in charge of the president's script, right? Can you show it to me?" "Oh yes, I have it here in this envelope," she replied. "I just want to check something. You wouldn't understand the English anyway, so let me have a look." Sophia reached into her bag to retrieve the envelope. I glanced into the rearview mirror, wondering why it was taking so long, and saw Sophia frantically searching through the contents of the envelope. "Oh no, the president's script is missing," she exclaimed. "Could it be? Did you lose it? If so, that's a serious problem," Kyle said. "I'm sure I put it in here." Sitting in the passenger seat, Kyle smirked, glancing back at Sophia with a sly expression. It crossed my mind that Sophia might have been set up by Kyle. I knew all too well how painful it was to be undermined by someone you worked alongside. While I was debating how to handle the situation, Kevin appeared from the elevator. Seeing Sophia's distressed look, he asked, "What's going on?" "Sophia seems to have lost the president's script. What should we do? It's entirely in English and contains everything related to the upcoming contract." "I see. So that's his game," I thought, understanding Kyle's intentions. I quickly realized that Kyle was trying to leverage his English skills, step in as a savior, and boost his own standing. At this rate, Sophia would be left with all the blame, while Kyle would likely claim full credit for the deal's success. After a brief pause, Kevin spoke. Then, instead of Sophia, Henry, I want you to come along. What? Henry's just a driver. He's not someone we should bring to a negotiation with the president, Kyle argued. I'll decide who to bring and who stays behind, Kevin responded firmly. Kyle momentarily swallowed and followed Kevin's words, caught off guard. It was clear he had no idea what Kevin was thinking. Of course, that was to be expected. Kevin was the only one here who knew my true background. In the end, I was tasked with accompanying Kevin and Kyle in Sophia's place. Sophia, looking apologetic, bowed her head to me and whispered, "Thank you." I felt a quiet satisfaction knowing she trusted me. Perhaps she suspected there was more to me than just being a driver. So the four of us got into the car and headed to the hotel where Jason awaited us. In the car, Kyle contacted the president's assistant on his phone to report that the script had gone missing. He leaned back in the passenger seat with a smug, condescending smile on his face. "Not to worry, we're bringing along our secret weapon, Henry," Kyle said. Sophia sat there, looking down, clearly distressed, certain this was Kyle's scheme. I felt a pang seeing her so downcast. With no way to prove Kyle's involvement, my only option was to ensure the meeting went smoothly. I pulled up at the hotel entrance, handed the keys to the valet, and we headed into the lobby. Sophia stayed behind in the car with a mix of nerves. I clutched the materials Sophia had entrusted to me and followed Kevin, walking beside me. Kyle wore a constant smirk, making me feel increasingly uncomfortable. He was clearly hoping I'd embarrass myself. If I, someone who had always stood by Sophia, made a mistake big enough to get fired, it would play right into Kyle's hands. In the elevator, with Kevin's permission, I started reviewing the documents, all in English. "There's no way a mere driver could understand it," Kyle scoffed, letting out a dismissive laugh. Kevin shot him a sharp glare, then shifted his gaze to me and asked, "What do you think? Can you handle it?" "Yes. I've reviewed the main points and can approximate what the president needs to say. He can speak in Japanese, and I'll translate and add context as needed to keep things moving smoothly." "Excellent," Kevin said. As Kyle said, "You truly are our secret weapon." While Kyle scoffed beside us, we arrived at the suite. Jason had rented out the entire top floor, and a blonde assistant guided us to the room. I felt a surge of tension I hadn't experienced in years and clenched my fists tightly. The guide opened the door and invited us inside. The room was the hotel's most luxurious suite, complete with an expansive living area. It was furnished with high-end pieces, and the view from the windows was absolutely stunning. Only the president of a global powerhouse like Mary's would conduct a business meeting with such elegance. Mr. Thornton had already arrived with his male assistant and was gazing out the large window at the city skyline. Kevin offered a brief explanation for the delay, and the president nodded in understanding. After a short wait, a large East Asian-looking man emerged from the back room. It was Jason, the president of Mary's. First, the president greeted him with a handshake, followed by Kevin with a warm, approachable smile. Jason extended his hand to us assistants as well. Feeling a bit humbled, I reached out and shook his hand. Then Jason's smile grew even brighter, and he spoke to me in fluent Japanese. "It's been a while, Henry. Glad to see you're doing well." "It's been a long time," I replied. "I'm glad to see you're well too." It feels strange to be speaking in Japanese like this. Yesterday, I visited my grandmother's grave. Japan really is a wonderful country, especially since it's home to talents like you. Kyle was more than just surprised. He was utterly dumbfounded to see that Jason knew me. Sure, it would be shocking for anyone to hear someone refer to a mere driver as a talent, but Kyle was about to be even more surprised. Unable to hold back, he turned to me, his curiosity overriding his focus on the business meeting. "What's going on? Why are you so friendly with Mary's president? This has to be the first time you've met." "Actually, it's not our first meeting," I replied. "I once worked for Mary's, but I don't think this is the right time to discuss my history. Let's focus on the meeting. And so we entered the main phase of the negotiation, with me acting as Mr. Thornton's interpreter and providing additional explanations for the content outlined in the documents. Kyle, watching me navigate the conversation with Jason so smoothly, was utterly taken aback. The reason I could speak so comfortably with Jason was that we had once worked together. After graduating from Harvard, I planned to build my career in the United States and join Mary's sales division. I was with Mary's for about 5 years. I introduced unexpected ideas that drew in customers, achieving success after success. My supervisors took a strong liking to me, going so far as to call me a future executive candidate. Being young, I let the praise get to my head, becoming bolder and more visible in my actions. Since Jason, an Asian like me, was part of the executive team, I didn't feel any sense of inferiority about my heritage. But I was the only one who thought that way. Other employees, particularly those from Western backgrounds, saw things differently. One of my colleagues was a woman named Mia, who joined the company at the same time as I did. Mia was also a Harvard graduate, and from the start of our careers, people constantly compared us. Apparently, this comparison bothered Mia immensely. With her blonde hair and blue eyes, she was the quintessential Western beauty, and her looks had turned heads since our university days. In contrast, while I was tall and fit, my East Asian appearance had caused me to miss out on several major opportunities. However, my easygoing personality served me well, allowing me to thrive and steadily build a track record despite the strong biases present in American society. Then one day, it was discovered that Mia had embezzled company funds. Shockingly, during the investigation, she claimed that I was her accomplice. I denied it vehemently and even considered hiring a lawyer, but the cold stares around me wore me down, and eventually, I gave in. I resigned from Mary's and returned to Japan for a while. I couldn't bring myself to do anything. I had enough savings, so I rented a nice apartment for myself and spent my days watching movies on a subscription service from morning to night. Just as I was starting to think I couldn't go on like this, Kevin, a senior from Harvard, reached out to me after hearing about my situation. That's when my life took a major turn. Kevin didn't just give me a job as a driver. In reality, I was also tasked with observing the 2 executive assistants, Kyle and Sophia. According to Kevin, although both of them were essential to his work, they had a deeply antagonistic relationship that threatened to cause issues. He wanted me, as his driver, to keep an eye on them and make sure neither attempted to undermine the other. Since I was already ready to get out of my lazy routine, I accepted Kevin's proposal. Thornton's, a large department store chain expanding worldwide, seemed like a natural fit, especially with my experience at Mary's, another major department store. Starting the very next day, I began my work as a driver, observing Kyle and Sophia. As for the missing script today, it was Kyle's doing, an attempt to set Sophia up. I had cameras and microphones installed in the office, so there should be footage clearly showing him removing the script from the envelope. After wrapping up the successful meeting, I planned to retrieve the video evidence and show it to Kevin. That day's negotiation between Thornton's and Mary's was a huge success. The 2 companies would now establish a strong alliance and expand their presence globally. The agreement to open stores in developing countries, in particular, would significantly contribute to Thornton's growth. Everyone looked pleased, and seeing their satisfaction brought me a sense of pride as well. In the midst of this, Jason made an unexpected proposal. "Mr. Thornton, would you consider letting Henry return to our company? We bear responsibility for his wrongful dismissal due to poor oversight, and we'd like to make amends. In today's negotiations, Henry has proven to be an exceptionally skilled employee. Losing him would be a huge setback for us. I hope you understand, but he's currently working as an executive driver, isn't he? That role doesn't suit Henry. I'd like to give him greater responsibilities and a chance to rise within the company." I found myself torn between Jason and Mr. Thornton. Sensing my hesitation, Jason pressed further, attempting to sway me. After thoroughly investigating the embezzlement case, It's been proven that you were innocent, Henry. Everyone wants to apologize for doubting you and hopes you'll return to work with us. I felt a sense of relief hearing that my innocence had been confirmed. Truthfully, a part of me did want to return to Mary's and restart my career there. However, I could also imagine that Thornton's, recognizing my contributions today, would likely offer me a new role beyond that of a driver. True, working in American society, Asians face many challenges, Jason continued, but I intend to change that from within, and I can assure you that no such prejudice would affect you at Mary's. Henry, please stay with us at Thornton's. Having seen your talents firsthand, it would be very painful to lose you to Mary's. We'll provide a role that reflects your skills. It had turned into a full-blown tug of war for my future. Kyle, sidelined from the discussion, had no opportunity to contribute. Choosing between Thornton's and Mary's was no easy decision, but I couldn't stop thinking about Sophia. Over time, as I observed her, I developed deep feelings for her. If I could have a fulfilling career at either company, I'd rather be near the person I cared about. It seemed Kevin had sensed my feelings as he made a new proposal. Henry, how about becoming our liaison with Mary's? I have no intention of letting your career end as an interpreter. I'll grant you the authority you need, and I want you to take charge of our dealings with Mary's. Kevin's offer would allow me to build a close relationship with Mary while staying at Thornton's, which sounded like an ideal arrangement. I'd accepted his offer and shook his hand with gratitude. That afternoon, I arranged a private meeting and presented the video evidence to Kevin, showing Kyle's attempt to set up Sophia. I've had my doubts about Kyle for a while now. Sophia may lack confidence, but she's meticulous and a pleasure to work with. Trying to sabotage her like that is a serious offense. Moreover, Kyle's actions had almost jeopardized the negotiation, making something Mr. Thornton couldn't overlook. As a result, Mr. Thornton decided to dismiss Kyle. With Kyle gone, Sophia was promoted to be Kevin's chief assistant, while I took on the role of Mr. Thornton's assistant. Since Mr. Thornton and Kevin frequently worked together, Sophia and I ended up coordinating daily, spending much of the day together. Without Kyle's presence, Sophia gained confidence and tackled her work with newfound boldness. As for Kyle, the dismissal marked his first real setback in a life of steady advancement. Word of his scheming against Sophia quickly spread to other major companies, making it nearly impossible for him to find work at a prestigious firm. With few options, he ended up teaching English at a language school. However, even there, he made a grave mistake. A hidden camera was discovered in one of the classrooms, and it was revealed that Kyle had installed it. Under police questioning, he confessed that he had developed an inappropriate attraction to a student and had acted on impulse. Fortunately, no one had been harmed, but he was charged and given a suspended sentence, leaving him with a criminal record. Unsurprisingly, he couldn't find a new job, and his life grew increasingly difficult. With no job and a criminal record, his wife eventually left him. She had managed their finances, and after she left, Kyle discovered she had squandered much of their savings. Despite having almost no money left, she demanded alimony. His record became known among the neighbors, and he faced constant judgment. To pay the alimony and escape the neighbors' scorn, he sold the house they had purchased, moving to a new town. He tried to start over and spent his days searching for work. One day, in a moment of desperation, he shoplifted a can of mackerel from a supermarket. He was caught by store security and banned from the premises. The story of the former elite employee's downfall spread like wildfire and even reached my ears. Now, Kyle is reportedly spending lonely days working as a building janitor, the only job he managed to find. A year has passed since then. I confessed my feelings to Sophia, and we officially started dating. We've already met each other's parents. Sophia's parents are urging her to get married and settle down right away, but I want to approach this carefully. I don't want her to give up her career, and I want her to have every chance to grow as an individual. Sophia, who used to be prone to negative thoughts, now says that when she's with me, she feels she can be herself and fully unleash her potential. Right now, we're both exploring what choices would be best for our lives together. I was having fun talking to my former classmates at a vibrant reunion with 100 people when Michael, who identifies himself as an outstanding manager, arrived. He snorted as he glanced at me. I work as a manager at a prestigious organization. In front of everyone, he declared, "You are nothing in comparison to me." He denigrated me. It seems like Michael always believes he is superior to me. The enjoyable reunion was marred because of him. However, Michael was rudely awakened shortly after. "I'm 30 years old, and my name is Kevin. I work in the sales department of a prestigious corporation right now, and I'm always busy. Those who used to know me may be shocked to learn how much I've changed. That's because I used to be a shy, quiet person who couldn't confront others. That was due to a reason. My father reared me alone after my mother died before I was old enough to recall. However, my grandma looked after me a lot because he was preoccupied with his job. She loved me and tried her hardest to take care of me. I never experienced the loneliness of being motherless because of her. The elementary school had a Parents' Day event one day. My grandmother visited me, of course. She smiled broadly and waved when she noticed me in the classroom. When several classmates saw this, they burst out laughing. "I take it your mother isn't here." "Poor kid," they remarked. My students gave me pitying looks. I couldn't conceal my surprise at being referred to as poor for the first time. "You're wearing those because you don't have a mom. Huh," they said, mocking my attire. "You're really uninteresting." I was unable to put the emotion into words. I started to become quieter and more reclusive after that. I was still being teased by some of my classmates. I found it incomprehensible that my mother's absence was the only reason I had to endure this. However, I was able to enjoy primary school because the majority of my friends stuck up for me. As I progressed through junior high and high school after finishing elementary school, I began to feel the urge to alter my personality. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life being teased. I started actively joining friend groups and interacting with people, since I really didn't want to live that kind of life. Even though I wasn't very excellent in my studies, I put a lot of effort into them. I became more gregarious with time. No one made fun of me after that. I started working at my current employer after high school. I thought about going to college, but I gave up because it was hard with my father's pay. It was difficult to find a job with only a high school degree, and I was turned down by numerous employers when I applied. However, I persisted and ultimately received an offer from my present employer. I went to work with the goal of giving the company I worked for my entire life. Thankfully, I was able to concentrate on my work because neither my superiors nor my coworkers made fun of me for just having a high school degree. Every day, I felt thankful for that setting. I was there at my coming-of-age celebration 2 years after I began working. For the event, my grandmother got me a nice outfit. "You look fantastic, Kevin. It's unbelievable how much my little, frail grandson has matured." With tears of happiness in her eyes, she exclaimed, "I'm so happy." I was also very moved. I promised myself that I would grow up to be the kind of person who could give back to my grandma for everything she had done for me. As I walked into the spacious space for the coming-of-age ceremony, I noticed that it was packed with newly employed people dressed in formal wear. I looked around for anyone I knew, and soon some of my classmates came up to me. They were elementary school classmates of mine. Seeing them after all this time made my heart rush with joy. But then I ran into the person I didn't want to see. That individual was coming directly at me. I looked down out of habit. "Kevin, long time no see." It was Michael, one of my primary school classmates. As he spoke, he put his hand on my shoulder. I instinctively flinched. When Michael saw my response, he burst out laughing. "You remain as weak and timid as ever. Which college are you enrolled in, then? Whose fault do you think it is that I'm like this? I felt a bit of anger, but answered honestly, I'm not in college. I'm working now. When I said that, Michael laughed even harder. Not in college. I knew you were useless. Who doesn't go to college these days? Hearing Michael's words, the other classmates fell silent. Treating a classmate he hadn't seen in years as worthless, Michael's character was still rotten. But I was used to this from Michael. He had teased me relentlessly in elementary school. Yes, the one who led the teasing back then was Michael. Michael would constantly target me, making degrading comments about my poverty. His family was wealthy, and he couldn't believe that I was being raised by my grandmother. At first, I ignored him, but then an incident happened that made it impossible to ignore him. It was during a recess at elementary school. Suddenly, Michael started shouting that his wallet was missing. Bringing wallets to school was against the rules, so none of us, including me, even knew he had brought one. But Michael claimed someone had stolen it. The thief is someone in this classroom. Then, unbelievably, he accused a classmate of being the thief. The classroom fell silent, and from that moment, my nightmare began. Suddenly, Michael grabbed my backpack and turned it upside down. I was stunned by his action. Michael, what are you doing? Stop it, I shouted. Despite my protests, Michael didn't stop. He emptied my backpack and started going through my desk. The only one poor enough to steal my wallet is you. Give it back. I hadn't taken Michael's wallet. I couldn't understand why I was being accused and felt utterly confused. Hearing the commotion, the teachers came into the classroom. After we explained the situation, they urged Michael to look elsewhere. But Michael insisted, Kevin stole my wallet. He hates that I'm rich. What a thing to say. I had never envied Michael. Who would want to be like someone so rotten? I remember feeling my body heat up with anger. But in the next moment, Michael found his wallet inside his own desk. Everyone around widened their eyes with surprise. Despite having accused me of stealing, Michael laughed as if nothing had happened. Thank goodness, I almost got in trouble with my mom for losing my wallet. What was there to be thankful for? I had almost been falsely accused of theft, but Michael didn't care about my feelings and didn't even apologize. Seeing this, the teacher asked him to apologize to me. But Michael uttered something shocking. Kevin is poor, that's why he was suspected. It's not my fault, it's Kevin's fault for being poor and motherless. I couldn't believe my ears. Why did I have to hear such things from Michael? I decided to avoid him as much as possible from then on. At that moment, I made a vow to myself. However, since we were in the same class, Michael continued to bother me each time. It was a miserable experience. After graduating from elementary school, I thought I was finally free from Michael. But running into him again at the coming-of-age ceremony was really unfortunate. As I remained silent, my classmates tried to help me out. Working instead of going to college is impressive, they said. Hearing this, Michael snorted. What's so impressive about that? You probably just didn't want to study. Unlike you, I'm studying business at a top university. Shows how much smarter I am than you. I wanted to get away from Michael as quickly as possible, so I decided to just listen to him without reacting. A top university, that's impressive, Michael, I said, but deep down, I didn't mean it at all. My classmates seemed to understand my true feelings and started to ignore Michael's boasting as well. Satisfied with his bragging, Michael finally walked away. I thought I would never see him again. I felt relieved from the bottom of my heart, but fate was cruel. 10 years later, I turned 30. To celebrate my grandmother's 80th birthday, I took her to a high-end seafood restaurant. The restaurant was a hidden gem in an alleyway, known only to a few. Knowing my grandmother loved seafood, I was sure she would enjoy it. With excitement, I walked in with my grandmother. The restaurant was cozy, with only counter seating, run by a single owner chef. My grandmother was impressed by the place. Is it okay to dine at such an expensive place? My grandmother asked me worriedly. The owner chef smiled at my grandmother's words. Today's your special day, madam. Don't worry and enjoy anything you like. My grandmother happily started ordering. Every dish the chef prepared was delicious, and our conversation flourished. Seeing her so happy, I thought about bringing her here again. As I was thinking this, the restaurant door suddenly swung open, and a loud voice came from behind me. Fancy meeting you here. It must be fate. Huh. I turned around, recognizing the unpleasant voice, to see Michael grinning with a woman by his side. My heart sank. Running into him again, especially during this celebration, was truly unfortunate. I decided to leave before my mood was completely ruined. Just as I was helping my grandmother up from her seat after finishing our meal, it happened. Michael started talking about himself again. This is my fiancée. We're getting married soon. You might recognize her. He introduced the woman standing next to him. She looked somewhat familiar, but I couldn't place her. Then Michael continued proudly, It's Alyssa, the cutest girl in our elementary school class. Don't you remember? Maybe you didn't care because you were such a gloomy guy. Alyssa. Oh, that's right. I vaguely remembered her, but it didn't matter to me at all. Congratulations, I said, trying to leave the restaurant. But Michael wouldn't stop talking. If you want, I can introduce you to someone good too. Though they'd probably hate a dull guy like you. I couldn't believe he was belittling me in front of my grandmother. I was shocked that Michael's character hadn't changed at all in 10 years. My grandmother's face turned worried in an instant. I could see the owner chef watching us anxiously from behind the counter. I started shaking with anger, and without responding, I hurried out of the restaurant with my grandmother. I didn't need Michael to introduce me to any women. I was seething with rage. Once outside, my grandmother looked at me with concern. Did something happen between you two? He was being very rude. To ease her worries, I lightly explained that Michael had teased me in elementary school. He's always been like that. He's not worth worrying about. I'm better than him now. Hearing this, my grandmother looked relieved and began to smile. Kevin, you've become so strong. You used to come crying to me over the smallest things. You've really grown up. Come on, Grandma. I'm 30 now, I replied, laughing with her. Despite Michael's unwelcome appearance, the birthday celebration turned out to be very enjoyable. But I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Why did I keep running into Michael, someone I didn't want to see? Was this some kind of fate? I hoped I wouldn't see him again. Seeing him always brought me down. But fate was not so kind. A few days later, I was at work as usual. It was a day for outside sales. As I walked with my colleague Mark, I saw Michael ahead of us. I was speechless at my bad luck again. I thought, trying to walk past him without being noticed, but Michael spotted me. He immediately approached and started talking. Your company is around here? I can't believe a high school graduate like you found a job. Must be a third-rate company. No need to ask. Michael sneered at me. Mark, who was with me, was shocked at Michael's words. Yeah, my company is just over there. It might be a third-rate company, I responded, trying to end the conversation. Michael laughed again. That poor company stuck with a useless, dull guy like you. No wonder their performance is poor. I should lend you some of my brains. Here we go again. Michael just couldn't resist looking down on me. I was too exasperated to even respond. Mark, standing beside me, looked irritated and said, Kevin, we need to get going. It's a waste of time dealing with someone like him. Michael's face turned red with anger, but I followed Mark's advice and said, I'm heading out for sales calls now. I'm busy, so see you around, and started walking away. Michael, still fuming, shouted after us, I'm sacrificing my valuable time to talk to you useless people. You should be grateful. Both Mark and I were speechless. Michael was unbelievably foolish. Then, Mark, as if remembering something, shared a shocking fact with me. I was stunned when I heard it. A while later, I received a letter at my house. Opening it, I found it was an invitation to an elementary school reunion. An elementary school reunion. Michael would probably attend. If he did, he'd definitely look down on me again. So, despite wanting to go, I thought it would be best to skip it. Just then, a classmate called to confirm my attendance. When I said I wanted to decline, the classmate asked, "Is it because Michael will be there?" They must have remembered how Michael used to tease me in elementary school. I explained honestly that even after high school graduation, I had run into Michael a few times and endured his insults, so I didn't want to attend. The classmate then gave me some happy news. "Don't worry, Michael isn't coming. He has other plans, so feel free to join us." "Huh, really?" I asked. If Michael wasn't coming to the reunion, I had no reason not to go. So I decided to attend. Without Michael, it seemed like it would be a fun event, and I felt excited. On the day of the reunion, I dressed in the outfit I had prepared for the occasion and headed confidently to the venue. The reunion was held in a large restaurant in town, a grand event. It had been 18 years since elementary school graduation, but this was the first reunion. I was excited to see what everyone was up to and catch up with them. Entering the venue, I saw my classmates already gathered, enjoying conversations with wine glasses in hand. I quickly grabbed a drink and joined the group, enjoying the lively chats. Some classmates were married with children, sharing photos and stories. Then, a commotion arose near the entrance. I felt a sense of foreboding as my classmates, and I turned our attention to the entrance. I was frozen with fear. There stood Michael with Alyssa by his side. Wasn't he supposed to be absent? I stood in shock, unable to move. A classmate hurried over to me. This morning, Michael called to say he was coming after all. "I'm sorry for the late notice." The classmate looked apologetic, but since I was already there, I decided to stay. I just tried to quietly leave the venue. Unfortunately, Michael spotted me. As soon as he saw me, he walked over with a smug grin. "Leaving already? I'm here too. Let's chat more," he said. Other classmates were watching me. Although I wanted to leave immediately, I didn't want to ruin the atmosphere. Reluctantly, I decided to stay a bit longer. One of the classmates spoke to Michael in surprise. "I'm shocked. I never expected you to be dating Alyssa." Michael wore a smug expression. "Back in those days, I didn't pay much attention to girls," he said. But apparently, Alyssa was famous among the boys for being cute. Alyssa blushed. "We met through a mutual friend. I heard there was someone who graduated from a prestigious university and worked at a top company. And it turned out to be Michael. We started dating and quickly decided to get married. Even I'm surprised at how fast it all happened." Everyone looked at Michael with envy. Michael, basking in their admiration, proudly said, "We're getting married soon. I'd love it if you all could come to the wedding." Some people applauded and congratulated him. "I envy that you are in the happiest time of your life. Graduating from a prestigious university really makes a difference," one classmate said. And Michael, being Michael, responded, "Well, I'm nothing like Kevin over there. If you end up like him, your life is over." I couldn't believe he would say something like that at a reunion. I was too shocked to speak. While I was struggling to contain my anger, Michael dropped a bombshell. "I'm a manager at a top company, unlike you, who will be stuck working at a third-rate company for the rest of your life," he said. In front of 100 classmates, Michael looked down on me. I had reached my limit. Then a classmate exclaimed in amazement, "Aren't you working at that top company, Oakwood Corporation? Being a manager there is impressive." I was stunned. That couldn't be true. What was he talking about? I calmly asked, "Michael, which department at Oakwood Corporation are you a manager of?" Everyone turned their attention to Michael. He started to panic. "What does it matter to you? Why should I tell you?" he snapped. A classmate nudged Michael, laughing. "Come on, don't be shy. It's not like it cost you anything to tell us," a classmate said jokingly, making Michael even more flustered. Encouraged by the classmates, Michael reluctantly muttered in a small voice, the sales department." Cheers erupted from the classmates. "A sales manager at Oakwood Corporation. That's incredible. The sales department there is known for being highly competitive. Way to go, Michael." Michael looked proud again, but everything he said was a lie. I couldn't let him continue to deceive everyone. It was time to reveal the truth about Michael. "Oh, really?" I said. "Who approved the new manager, huh?" Michael looked confused. Everyone turned to me, puzzled. "Michael, when did you become the sales manager at Oakwood Corporation?" I asked. Michael blared at me. "About 6 months ago. Why do you care? Even if you're jealous, you'll never work at Oakwood Corporation." Our classmates were holding their breath, watching the exchange. I couldn't help but laugh. "What's so funny?" Michael demanded. "Because, Michael, you becoming the sales manager at Oakwood Corporation is impossible. And you saying I could never work there is quite ironic." The room fell silent. Then I revealed the truth. "I'm the sales manager at Oakwood Corporation." My classmates stared at me with wide eyes, clearly in disbelief. No one seemed to believe what they were hearing. Michael seemed too shocked to speak. "There's no way. You're just a high school graduate. High school grads can't work at Oakwood Corporation. You must be at some third-rate company." I showed Michael my business card, which I happened to have with me. It clearly stated that I was the sales manager at Oakwood Corporation. The classmates began passing my card around, and the room buzzed with excitement. Michael's face turned pale, and he started to tremble. Kevin, a sales manager at Oakwood Corporation, was completely bewildered. Indeed, Oakwood Corporation doesn't hire high school graduates now, but they did when I joined. I started in the sales department right out of high school. Michael looked even more shaken, almost collapsing. "Yes, I actually work at Oakwood Corporation," I said. "Currently, I serve as the sales manager." The path to becoming a manager wasn't easy. Being a high school graduate, man, I had to work harder than my college-educated colleagues. I spent countless hours working, sometimes even sleeping at the office. Through perseverance, I achieved top sales results in the department. This made me well known within the sales team, and this spring, my efforts were recognized. I became the youngest manager in the company's history. I could hardly believe it myself. When I got the promotion, it felt like a dream. Now, as a manager, I strive to make the sales department even better every day. That's why I knew it was impossible for Michael to be the sales manager at Oakwood Corporation. Moreover, Michael wasn't an employee of my company. "Michael, what's going on?" I asked. Alyssa, who had been quietly listening, raised her voice in shock. Other classmates were also puzzled. Does this mean Michael has been lying to us? The room erupted in murmurs. Michael stayed silent, not knowing what to say. Since he wouldn't admit it, I decided to reveal the truth. "Why lie, Michael? You work in the sales department at Johnson Industries, a subsidiary of Oakwood Corporation, don't you?" Michael looked at me in disbelief. Alyssa was stunned. "How do you know that?" Michael stammered, trembling. A loud voice emerged from the crowd. I told him. Mark, with a sharp gaze, stared at Michael. Michael seemed to recognize him instantly and was taken aback. "You're Mark from university. We were also in elementary school together, right? And you were with Kevin earlier. Are you also an employee at Oakwood Corporation?" "Yes, I am. You teased me endlessly back in elementary school. Remember when I found out we were going to the same university? I was really upset, but you seem to have forgotten all about me now." I'm working in the sales department at Oakwood Corporation. The classmates were in an uproar. Mark was actually my colleague. After graduating from FTH University, he joined Oakwood Corporation and became my subordinate. Mark also grew up in a household without a mother, just like me. Because of this, Michael had bullied Mark in the same way he bullied me. Mark hated and had tried to avoid any interaction with him from that point on. Unfortunately, he ended up at the same university as Michael, but was in a different department, so he managed to graduate without being bullied. However, while we were out on a sales call, we ran into Michael. At that moment, Mark revealed that he had gone to the same university as Michael and told me about his job. Wait a minute, Mark graduated from F University, right? So Michael also went to F University, but didn't Michael say he graduated from T University? Michael started to get flustered again. Alyssa looked like she was about to cry, tears welling up in her eyes. Michael had lied to us about graduating from a prestigious university and also about working at a top company. How much did he need to boost his ego? Unbelievable. Where I graduated from and where I work is none of your business. Stop meddling. Michael finally snapped and started yelling. The class around us was stunned into silence. Don't boast about lies. Think about how Alyssa feels, Mark blared at Michael. But Michael didn't back down. Alyssa loves me. It doesn't matter whether I went to school or where I work. We connected by true love, he said with such confidence. How could he say that after boasting with such false credentials? Alyssa stood there in shock and began to cry. You lied to my parents, too. We've even had a formal engagement. How are you going to take responsibility? I hate liars. I can't marry you. Our classmates surrounded Alyssa, looking at her with pity. Michael was stunned by her words. His previous bravado began to fade, and he started pleading with Alyssa. Alyssa, you said you love me no matter what. I admit I lied about my background, but please don't say that. But Alyssa refused to even look at him. Of course, I wouldn't want to be involved with a liar. Even if I were in her position, consider the engagement off. I can't do this anymore, Alyssa said and left the reunion hall. Michael desperately ran after her, leaving the venue as well. The hall fell into a stunned silence. I can't believe Michael was lying about all of this. At least the truth came out now. Alyssa would have been miserable otherwise. With Michael and Alyssa gone, we were free to reminisce and enjoy the rest of the reunion. A few days later, I arrived at the office as usual. There I saw Mr. Johnson, the president of Johnson Industries, and Michael. I figured it was about the recent event. With that in mind, I approached the two of them. As soon as Mr. Johnson saw me, he began to apologize. I am deeply sorry for the trouble Michael has caused. We had no idea he was using your name to boast about a false position at Oakwood Corporation. Mr. Johnson looked sincerely apologetic. We truly had no idea he was lying about being the sales manager. Michael, apologize properly, Mr. Johnson urged. Michael, sulking, didn't move. Yes, Michael had been boasting in various places that he was the sales manager at Oakwood Corporation. Mark had discovered this and reported it to Johnson Industries. I was just joking around. Kevin and I are friends, so it's no big deal. Michael showed no sign of remorse. I had reached my limit. Michael and I are not friends. Since he shows no remorse, I expect appropriate action to be taken. When I said this, Michael turned pale. Mr. Johnson began to panic. Of course we will consider Michael's position when we return to the company. Come on, Michael, let's go. Suddenly, Michael stood up and clung to me. Kevin, I apologize for everything. Please, I'm begging you. I ignored Michael and walked away. It's too late for him to apologize now. He needs to deal with the consequences of his actions. Later, I heard through the grapevine that Michael and Alyssa's wedding was called off. Additionally, Mr. Johnson fired Michael from the company. Michael is now desperately hunting for a job, but in this small town, his reputation has quickly spread, and no company is willing to hire him. It seems it will be very difficult for Michael to find a new job anytime soon. But this is the natural consequence of involving so many people in his lies. Whatever happens to Michael from now on is none of my concern. I will continue to live my life with my head held high.